Wrong button. I wasn't looking. I was looking at something else. There we go. 10 seconds. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Boom, and welcome to the Big Honker podcast brought to you by Gundog Outdoors. I'm sitting with two world-famous people tonight. This is just old Jeff Stanfield with the world-famous Andy Shaver and the world-famous Wyman Meinzer. Hello, Wyman. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
It's good to see you again.
Good to see you
I
guys
think it's
again.
been over a year.
It has. It has.
We had the
COVID days.
We had the power, the electricity or something went out.
AC went out in here.
And we had no power in here, and it was hotter than hell.
Well, you know, over at Benjamin there, we never lost a minute.
No, this was last summer we were going to have you, and we scheduled, and you were going to come out, and the power was out. And it
no, that AC went out was all it was. Both ACs in here. One was getting retooled right before season, and then the other went kerplunk.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I knew we had some kind of issue.
And then this tin can.
I know the feeling.
It gets hot.
August
kind of like the old gel, huh?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. When those rocks got hot, buddy, it was nothing but an oven.
How many people come by and see you just to see your gel?
Oh, you know, they don't, you know, most people are pretty polite, and they'll come by. You'll see, generally on a holiday, they'll come by quite often, but generally they won't stop. But if they do, I'll go out and meet them and, you know, say hello and, hey, you want to see the jail? And I'll take them to the jail. I did some people this morning. I
got a friend of mine, a couple, Clay and Christy Boland from Wichita Falls. They just bought a ranch west of Benjamin. They bought Kevin Cobb's old ranch.
I'm not familiar with that.
It's the one. It's by the Ross, it's by the Masterson. You go down the county road right there, and it comes in. And
okay,
they got that. And I was telling her just the other day about you, and she knew all about you.
Yeah.
I said you ought to stop by the.
That may be part of the old Bateman. Maybe
yes,
that's part of the Bateman. Yeah.
It's part of that part right there, but it's where that county road goes in.
Yeah, yeah, I know what it is.
Neat place. They got oddads, elk, everything on that thing.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
There's getting to be a lot of elk through there. Not a lot, but there are some elk through there. I wouldn't be surprised if 10, 15 years down the road we don't have an elk season in Texas again in some places.
Well, you know, there were 4 or 5 just outside of Benjamin last winter, and of course they got shot out.
Oh, did they?
They come out. I think the old Beaver Ranch. They crawled through a water gap. Y'all excuse me, I'm a little bit hoarse.
I'll get you a bottle of water.
Oh, please. And they were outside of Benjamin. You could see them every day grazing in a wheat field, and then finally they were one by one picked off. It's kind of sad.
It is, because people don't realize if you let stuff alone like that,
leave it alone.
Yeah. In Oklahoma, where we hunt out around Hobart, south of there, back towards Wichita Mountains, there's a lot of elk. I mean, they have a season through there.
I understand
but
that.
they don't, you know, it's not, you know, just shoot everything that moves. And that's why they've got them. Now, the farmers don't like them. They tear up a lot of shit.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I mean, they're pretty destructive, I think. Not like a hog, but they are.
Yeah.
But they are a plains animal at one time.
They were. Back in the, 19th century, 18th century, they were known as a plain animal, as the grizzly. When
I've been to northern Alberta and Saskatchewan, there's elk everywhere in the plains.
Wow.
I mean, you see them. Yeah. There's been a day when I've seen mule deer, elk, moose, and white-tailed deer in the same spot.
Really?
Yep, in the same, within a 10-mile area, and bears.
Really?
I mean, it's crazy, but there's not a lot of people up there.
Yeah.
And they've been there, and they didn't get run out into the mountains like they did everywhere else. A couple of questions. I've had people who's going to be here to question, and this one here. Zach's wife and family live at Throckmorton, and they've got some land over there. He was telling me that there's a piece of property they have that used to be an Indian reservation at one time. Is what someone told him.
Yeah, it was.
Which Indian tribe did they put in
Comanche.
there?
It wasn't. Well, oh, God. I used to know that history really well back in late 90s when I was shooting the Texas Rivers book. And then of course, I worked from the Canadian on down, and then had the Clear Fork, the Brazos. And it was I don't remember which Comanche group it was.
But they
Pinataka, maybe. Pinataka, I'm not sure.
But they did put them in there for reservation. How many years were they there?
I don't think very long.
Because
It's down there near old Fort Cooper, where Robert E. Lee was there for a while before the Civil War in the 1850s.
no, where was Fort Cooper at?
That's it's on the Clear Fork. It's on a ranch. I couldn't tell you whose it was. All I knew is I had permission. They actually invited me to come down and photograph that part of the Clear Fork of the Brazos.
So between Throckmorton and Albany somewhere.
Yes.
That's really interesting. There was a
Yes.
fort there, and I never
It
knew
was
that.
actually it was a bunch of civilians basically, and then Robert E. Lee was there because there's a marker out there in the brush. You know, you crawl out of a field that was previously a field, which is now pasture. You go out into the thick timber, and it's kind of in the floodplain of the river. There's this historical marker. It's got Robert E. Lee, Fort Cooper on
Be
it.
damn, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
I would have never thought
Yeah.
that.
There's shards of glass and all kinds of little trinkets lying around.
Yeah,
thought that
Zach
either.
was going to go look for
Arrowheads.
arrowheads and stuff right there. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
was like, really? He said, yeah. He said, there used to be a reservation here. I go, what?
Well, you might find a little metal there, but they won't find any flint.
We were talking the other day. Why do you think it is that we gave the Indians Oklahoma,
Yeah.
and then, I mean, it wasn't very developed until the white man went up there and
Yeah.
discovered. I mean, they discovered oil, but New Mexico still, it's terrible the way you look at the Indian reservations. What is it that, I mean, are they just not, do they not get up with the times fast enough? How is it that it always seems like they live in poverty
Yeah.
and they just never move forward, it seems like? And I
Hmm.
realize I'm speaking in a broad term, but we were talking about it the other day, and it seems like,
I'm not a big Indian sympathizer. I think that back then everybody fought. That was the way it was.
I kind of am. Because, this was their country. But I understand that everybody at one point gets defeated
Right.
and moved out by the superior power. Manifest destiny.
All over the world.
That's what took out, the Native Americans. And I don't understand that. I don't know why.
So we
Cannot
talked.
say.
We talked. I just got back from the Black Hills, and have you been to the Black Hills?
Mm-hmm.
That's an amazing place. I think
It is.
I did not know what to. For someone that's been on gone a lot of places, I didn't know what I was expecting. I wasn't expecting this. I was expecting stuff that looks about like around Gilland or somewhere in the Scalds is what I was expecting. And it never dawned on me. Well, Jeff, you're going to see Mount Rushmore. It's got to be on a mountain. Well, I didn't expect the mountain. I didn't expect the Rocky Mountains to be in South Dakota. Is what I didn't
It's
expect.
big time.
And it's a beautiful place.
Gorgeous.
But I've never been an Indian sympathizer, but I felt more sorry for them when I read the story about how that all went down over there because we gave them that land.
Yeah.
And then when
They
they
took it
discovered
away.
gold, we was like,
took it
well,
back.
hold on. Hold on.
You move on out. We're coming in.
Yeah.
It was wrong.
That was I
wrong.
100% that, but I'm not a sympathizer. I feel like that everywhere in the world, we're the only place, the only country in the whole world that has to give back and apologize for how we got to where we are. And I understand the Indian deal, but they fought and killed each other. Crazy Horse and
They
them
did.
killed the Sioux or somebody to get to where they were, or whatever tribes. I get my tribes confused. But I don't understand how every Indian tribe in the United States of America is surrounded by people that are prosperous everywhere.
Well, I tell you what, they're getting us back with the casinos.
Yes, they are. They are.
They're kicking butt.
Yeah,
So you know what? I just say, more power to you.
Yeah.
Because I don't gamble, so they're not going to get me. I never did anything to them, and they're not going to get me back for anything. So I'm okay.
I bought a lot of school books for Indian kids in my life.
he pays the light bill quite often.
But I don't I've never understood. So in Oklahoma, where we'll hunt,
Yeah.
you will go by, and it's not a big reservation, but it's all broken down trailers and shit.
It
I mean,
is.
it's trash.
It is.
And then you look across the street, and there's people that are living in these big homes. They're farming, and they've had to purchase that land little by little by little. Someone's worked hard to get that.
Yeah.
And the Indians have got all this field, and I don't understand why you don't see.
You know what? There could be. Here's a theory that's just hit me. Government intervention.
Bingo.
Government intervention. We are going to give you this. We will support you. And then it's like, why should I do anything?
Right. Yeah.
There's an Indian tribe in South Dakota. I mean, not South Dakota, South Carolina. We had this conversation a couple of days, and a guy sent me a deal. And it's an Indian tribe in South Carolina. And that Indian tribe is very prosperous. They own banks, they own land, they own hotels. I don't think they're in the casino business, but they're very, very, very prosperous. And it's because they've never, ever, ever had a government handout.
There you go.
And the guy said, we are not we're not relying on the United States government to take care of us. We take care of ourselves. And we take care of our people in our tribe, and we all work hard.
Yes.
And they own construct. They did everything in the world.
Yeah.
And he was arguing with the lady that was a senator, and she was on behalf of, well, we need to do more for the natives and this and that. And he goes, no, you don't. We've done enough. Let them live their lives, and you got to have some tough love sometimes.
That's right. I agree.
And I think that's one of the things. But anyways, I'm really fascinated with Indians. Always have been from when I was a little kid. I call them Indians still. I don't the Native Americans because that's just the old habit of mine.
That's the old time.
But
yeah.
man, when I was in school and you'd talk about what was the lady's name? The Indian on Squanto, was that who it was? It was the Pilgrims.
I don't remember.
I think
those
it was.
shows.
Was it Squanto? He was. Anyways, the Indians with the Pilgrims and all that stuff. And when I read about him when I was a kid, I just thought, man, that's the coolest thing ever. And I've been to the old, villages around Salem, or not Salem, in Plymouth, and just, man, what a cool way to live that they did. Yeah. And
it was a tough life for them. When times were good, they flourished, and when times are rough, they starved.
No,
they were tough.
There was no gray area.
That's right.
It was you're either going to sink or you're going to swim.
That's right. And when they got old, they left them out, and they to die.
now the
No rest homes.
Cochise actually got along with the white man until they kidnapped him or took him and his wife in because they thought they kidnapped a little boy, and he sold firewood to the I think was it Wells Fargo. Was it the ones who was the
I haven't read my
the
Apache.
carriages.
I can't. I haven't read my Apache history in a while. I don't know.
Whoever done the carriages that bring people across. I don't think carriage is the word I'm looking for. That they would rob them and stuff. Well, anyways, they had set up, and he was selling firewood to them and water for the horses and stuff. And the teams.
The stagecoach.
Stagecoach.
Lines.
Yes, I couldn't. That's couldn't think of that word. And he was there, and he didn't get mad at them until they screwed him over. I think it was General Custer too, maybe that did it.
I don't think. I think the Apaches were really pursued later. I think at post-Custer massacre. I know they lasted up until the early 1880s. And I've got the book on Mangus Coloradus.
That was the man. He was the
warlord
chief.
He was a tough cookie. And I have another book, and I can't even pronounce the guy's name. But I found it in Santa Fe at a used bookstore at the bottom of a pile of books, and it's my life with Geronimo, or my years with Geronimo, and he died like in 1953. And he held the horses for Geronimo when he ambushed the Mexicans in Mexico to get ammunition and provisions to keep the war going. And he gave a lot of interesting insight into the Apache way and the dynamics between the Mexicans and the Apache and Mexicans versus the whites, the Anglos and Apache.
Now, were they at each other? Were the Mexicans and the Indians just kind of in Texas?
The Apaches hated the Mexicans.
Really?
Because, according to the Apache, the Mexicans would invite the Apaches in and say, we're going to trade, let's have a big day. And they'd have their mezcal and get them drunk, and then they'd fall on them and boom, knock them out. And then, of course, what the survivors would go back to the mountain and say, we got to go kick some butt here, and then they go back and massacre the village. And so that was basically what was going on in Mexico. And then, of course, Crook was the big man against the Apaches. He was the General Crook was the one who really came in and whipped up pretty bad on the Apache.
Where was Apache Pass at in present day?
I'm not certain.
Because they had a trail through the mountains that nobody else could hardly get through.
I know that in Arizona and New Mexico, those were the areas that was the big Apache crossings, And I've been to the Chiricahua Mountains, shooting photographs and various other things. And in that region and on some of the reservations that are there. But, God, that was back in the 80s. I don't recall some of the specifics.
There was now Colorado, was he Cochise' dad? I'm putting you on the spot here.
Too long. I've been away from it.
I'm putting you on the spot here, Wyman.
Yeah.
I think he was. Trust me, I'm going to get fact checked on this by everybody that listens to us. They do it all the time.
I've got several books on the Apache history, and God, they're so interesting. But I'll go in this mode where I'll go after one group for a while, and then I'll read of another. And it's been years since I've read the Apache history.
The Cynthia Ann Parker story is an amazing story.
It is.
I mean,
it is.
Her and her family were at Weatherford, Texas, I believe. Is that right?
Somewhere around
Parker County.
Parker County, yes.
And someone left the gate open, basically.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And they come in and stole her and her little brother. They killed everybody else.
Yeah.
They gutted her uncle in front of them. Yeah. And then she was like 6 years old.
She was pretty young. Yeah, and then they took them up, here in the plains in the Panhandle region. And I've been on the site where she was recaptured by Goodnight and some of the Rangers. And I was with the Comanches, and we did a cedering there on the site where she was recaptured.
What's a cedering?
It's sort of a religious sort of a cleansing.
Okay.
Cleansing. You have a cedar,
right?
Little cedar or sage, and you sit there and puff smoke on them. But I got with them there at Comanche at the Cynthia Ann Parker Day in Crowell, and I was friends with. It was a Cherokee lady, and she had married a Comanche. I met him actually in Snyder at the White Buffalo Day, and became friends with him. And in fact, I don't recall the guy's name, but he was on that show quite often. That the karate guy, something Texas Ranger.
Chuck Norris?
Walker Texas Ranger.
Yeah, Walker Texas Ranger.
Okay.
And so. They were at that Crowell thing one time, and they invited me to accompany them with some other Comanches down to that. And Celinda and I went down there and got a cedering.
So now, go ahead, Andy.
According to what I've heard about that, she didn't want to go back when the Rangers found her.
She escaped and went back to the Indians a couple of times.
No, she never made it.
But she was trying to, right?
She tried to, and then her baby Prairie Flower, died, and then she died of a heartbreak, basically.
And she was married to Pete Nakona, wasn't she?
That's Peter Nakona.
Yeah, that was his wife.
Yeah. And
he told her that if she would be his wife, but he couldn't have any other wives.
I don't know that.
That's what I had read.
Yeah.
And but her uncle kept looking for her because the rumor was there was a blue-eyed Indian somewhere, and he knew that was his niece.
Yeah.
And he went all over trying to get her, and finally they found her. Goodnight and them collect her. Where did they actually get her at?
She was on Mule Creek.
Where's that at?
Near north of Crowell, at the confluence of Mule Creek and the Pease River.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, how did they finally track her whereabouts? I
think it was in the winter, and most of the warriors were gone, and the Texas Rangers just came up on them, discovered the village, and then raided it. And she tried to get away, and she was on. I think she was riding double with another Comanche, and he got shot or she got shot or whatever. I mean, Cynthia Ann Parker didn't. And then whenever she fell, well, then they ran up and they turned her over, and she was like, blue eyes. And whoa, we got us a Anglo lady here.
And then now, she is Quanah Parker's mother.
Yes.
Who was was Pete Nakona his dad?
Yeah, I think that's correct. Yes.
How old was he when she got caught?
Peter?
Yeah. No.
Oh no, he was just. I think he was just a little guy. I don't know exactly how old, but I've got the information at home.
Now, if I remember right, he become really good friends with Goodnight or one of the big landowners.
Burke Burnett.
That's who it was. Yes,
Burke
Burnett and him become good friends.
Yes.
And he trusted him a lot.
Yes.
Because Burke, I always want to say Burke Burnett is a town.
Yeah.
Mr. Burnett was really fair to the Indians.
Yes. Yes.
And when Quanah Parker went to Washington, D.C., I think he went with him.
He may have. I'm not sure.
Because he got invited to go to Washington D.C. If I'm not wrong on that.
Yeah, several of them did. Several of the various chiefs got invited there. Yeah.
You know, I'm all for equal rights for anybody and stuff, and like I said, I'm not a sympathizer on anybody because of the way the world was, but I think it's really neat that our history is where we are, that we have this to discuss. And everything shouldn't be politically correct, but it is a very interesting. The whole way all them tribes went together, and Crazy Horse is an amazing story himself.
It is. I've been there at the fort where he was killed. You know, at where was it, in Nebraska, maybe?
What's the name of that place?
Oh, golly.
It's not Wounded Knee.
No. He was killed at a fort. Saw the spot he was killed. But it's a big. Actually, that's still being used. You can rent cabins there and have reunions. Huge place, beautiful.
We went to where Custer was killed.
Oh yeah, I've been there a couple times.
What's the name of that place? I'm having a brain fart today. Is it Montana or North Dakota? Montana, yes. God dang it.
It's Custer's Last Stand.
Yeah, and I can't think of the name of the damn place. But when you look at it and you're looking there and you're thinking, man, how'd they hide anybody here anyways?
Oh, I know. Those are big rolling hills. You know, until you get into that big rolling country. And, outside of Benjamin, you know, like I'll be out there fooling around at North Benjamin, and you've got some rolling country before you get to the Badlands, and that can be a herd of cattle in a draw 200 yards away, and you have no idea they're there. So when you get into that big Montana, Wyoming country, it's easy to see where you could hide 1,000 people half a mile away, and then you wouldn't know it except for the fire.
And they knew how to hide.
What?
How long do you think the Indians were here before white man was here?
Oh, my goodness. Indians being Folsom, Clovis. You know, I mean, how far do you want to go back? I mean, 12,000 years.
I think it's 10, 12,000 years because they came on the land bridge, and then the land bridge melted, and it stranded. Basically, they came from China. Yeah. So it's funny because, what were they saying? So, you know how Indians can't drink. Yeah. They can't hold their liquor.
Right.
Well,
that is also a common trait in the Chinese people. So that would suggest,
and they love to gamble, both of them too. that is very true.
So that would suggest that they come from a common ancestor back when the land bridge was here. Yeah. So some people came across, other people stayed. When it melted, they couldn't get anywhere, and they were stranded here basically until Columbus.
Yeah. Well, how long do you think the Indian lived like he was living in 1700? Do you think 500 years probably like that?
Well, you know, like I think the earliest, what you'd call, some people would refer to as tribes, were not tribes; they were clans. Like for instance, when the Spanish first came through, whichever one it was, you know, up in the Panhandle region, searching for the cities of gold.
Ponce de Leon or Conquista or the.
No, it wasn't them. God, I'm having a brain fart with you. Anyway.
God, what the hell is this?
Searching for the city of gold?
Yeah.
Cortez? Was it Cortez?
Cortez.
Gosh, no, it wasn't Cortez. Anyway, they talked about running up on clans, basically family units that had dogs with travoises, and you know, before that they even had horses. The Indians had horses, and they were up on the Llano Estacada, and
they hadn't had horses yet.
They didn't even have horses. They used dogs. And so they described those clans, and of course, I think it was in the early 1700s, late 1600s, that the Comanches came out of the mountains of Shoshone and hit the plains, and that's where they got the whole of the Spanish ponies.
It was Coronado.
Yep. And
Coronado's camp.
He had a big camp in Blanco Canyon, and I've been there to that camp and photographed the archaeologists digging.
So when did they find anything?
Yeah, they found some points, some of those crossbow points.
When was Coronado here?
1500s.
Yeah, mid-15.
And that's when the ponies first showed up.
That's when they were brought into the country, I suppose, because they were Spanish ponies and they got loose on the plains. But the Comanches were the ones who mastered the horse first, supposedly, and they went ahead and dominated because they became buffalo hunters.
Now, and we might have talked about this, but I mean, it's tragic to see what has happened to the buffalo, but I mean, there's no way that we could have herds of buffalo with the lifestyle that we have today.
No, but it's just a sad story how they were slaughtered. You know, I was at Rass City just the other day, up in Stonewall County, and I flew a drone over and did an aerial of Tom Lumpkin's and Spotted Jack's grave. And of course, I've been there. I was there when they put the historical marker, and I think it's in the 80s. And I've done several magazine articles on the buffalo kills. And I've hunted with a metal detector on Rass City and picked up whiskey bottles and broken spurs and Sharps cartridges, and they shot a lot of .45 long Colt. You could there was a common denominator in the amount of whiskey bottles and .45 long Colt bottles. I'm serious. There was a relationship there. You go, wait a minute, why are there so many whiskey bottles here and a lot of Colt .45 cartridges?
Now, where would they get their whiskey from? They would just buy everything at a fort.
It was brought in. Charles Rath, who came in from Dodge City in 1875 and established Rath City. And he brought, I forgot, like 30 or 40 freight wagons full of Sharps rifles and barrels of, kegs of gunpowder, and of course all of your accoutrements that buffalo hunters liked, which was whiskey. Mm-hmm. And then on Friday, the pink hide wagons would come in from Fort Griffin with the prostitutes, and everybody would have a big time. And in the 80s, I flew over Rass City one day just to get an aerial view of it, and it was during a dry period. And, of course, it's a wheat field now. But at the time, it was like a sorghum field or something that had sorghum. And you can see the street where it went between the buildings. See, Rath's store was on, like, the east side of the street. And then you had the hotel and the saloons was on the west side. You had the powder magazine and stables. And you could see where all this was. Because you had, in the street was lower, and you could see the greener vegetation growing.
Ain't that amazing how places like that never ever made it after that was over? And then you got other present day towns that are big cities that have just didn't die.
Well, every time that I cross the river bridge between Albany and Throckmorton, every time I look to my right and look in that big field, and I think that is where Fort Griffin existed at one time. One of the most thriving centers of hell on earth, as Joe McCombs put it. When I interviewed Joe McCombs' son, Miles McCombs, Joe McCombs killed, I forgot how many tens of thousands of buffalo in the 1870s. And I learned that Miles McCombs was in the rest home in Albany, so I interviewed him one day. And he had a good mind, he just couldn't get around. Yeah. And Miles, of course, the things he told me were things that I had already read about to some extent. But he did say, he said, Papa told me that Fort Griffin was hell on earth. And then you drive across there now and you look, and who would know? Unless you studied history, who would know that that was one time one of the wildest towns this side of Dodge City, Kansas? It could have even exceeded Dodge City. They said 30 men were killed there in 30 days.
Wow.
And is that why he said it was just hell on earth? Just the lawlessness?
Prostitutes, the gambling, the lawlessness. I mean, every kind of outlaw, lawman came through there. All of them came through Fort Griffin.
If you watch Deadwood, the series on HBO, that gives you a good insight of it's a TV show, but of what it was really like, or Hell on Wheels. Yeah. Those towns were just, they were lawless.
Oh, they were wild. Like, Big Nose Kate, who was, she was there at Fort Griffin.
Big Nose Kate.
Big Nose Kate.
I'm going to look her up, put her on the screen.
And let's see, there was one reading. I've got the history of Fort Griffin at home. And in one instance, there was some kind of an issue came up. And some guy went into a saloon and started shooting, and the lights went out. And whenever the lights came on, the only person killed was a lawyer. And he was shot through the head. And he was sitting at the end of the bar having a whiskey.
There she is right there. Big Nose Kate up on the big screen.
Oh, there you go.
She is not...
Doc Holliday's and Big Nose Kate. There you go.
So is that who Doc Holliday is with in Tombstone?
I suppose so.
I'll be damned.
Yeah.
And then Wild Bill's gal was what's her name? Jesus Christ!
Oh, goodness. I've been to their grave.
Well,
They're
she was a
buried together.
foul-mouthed talking old gal.
Yeah.
God, I can't think of her damn name now.
Her name is, hold on a second. Wild Bill's woman.
Calamity Jane.
Jane.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
They're buried together.
Yeah.
They are?
Yes. Graves side by side. Yeah.
Did they die at the same time?
No,
Or did
no. She said, I want to be buried with Wild Bill.
She went and had kids and got married or something, I think, afterwards even.
I'm not sure.
And went on the shooting, whatever they had, where he had the... who had
Buffalo
the
Bill?
Buffalo Bill Cody
Yeah,
had the
yeah.
damn traveling show.
Yeah,
And I
right.
think she went with him, but she got married and had kids.
Okay.
Well, she was a rough old gal though.
Tough times.
I think it amazes me that we're only 175 years from that time.
Yes.
And I mean, you look at where we are today. I mean, we've got cameras and microphones, and 150 years ago, 175 years ago,
It's dropping the bucket.
and it's nothing in the
Right.
in the span
In the-
of time.
Right. In the context of history, it's
Nothing.
Yeah.
No, this civilization as we know it, us sitting here having a civil conversation without 6 shooters on us
Right.
and a knife in the other guy's back
Right.
is new.
It is.
It did not used to be this way.
That's right.
And for a long time,
You can look in the jail book that I have at home. That's the people that were chunked in the old jail that I own from 1887, from October 87 to 1948. And it's amazing to see the transition of crimes that occurred. I went to the museum one day and looked up some of the guys. It's not the ones that were thrown in jail, but the ones that bailed out or paid their fine. Lots of fighting went on back then.
Yeah.
Fist fights. Lots of fist fights.
Until you settled stuff.
1890s, lots of fist fights. Pay $3 fine, get out.
What's the story on the doctor that was there?
Yeah, Dr. Jones. Yeah, he was a fighter. He was a fighter. He got fined in about 1896 for fighting, like $5 fine, and then he killed his wife in 1904.
And then didn't he kill himself?
Yes, in the jail up in our bedroom. Yeah.
oh my God, how did he do it?
He cut his jugular vein.
Jeez.
And asked for his bag for something, didn't he?
Yes, I talked to the old gentleman whose father was a jailer at the time, and this was like 20 years ago, and he was 90 years old back then. The old gentleman was. He lived in Mundy, and he said, "My father told me to go fetch the doctor's medicine bag, and I did. And as Papa closed the door of the jail cell, Dr. Jones pulled a blanket over his head. And he said, Papa opened the door, and when he'd pulled the covers back, he'd already cut his throat, or either cut his throat. There's a couple of different stories. One, he cut the femoral artery in his leg, and the other, he cut his jugular vein. Either way, he bled to death.
Yep, bled to
in
death.
your bedroom.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Now,
I bet that wasn't the only person that died in that jail.
I'm not sure. I know there was a lot of hooliganism going on back then.
did you ever feel anything or see anything in your time in the jail?
No, but it was always a fascinating thing on stormy nights or full moon nights. I still remember vividly lying there in bed on especially a full moon night when the moon would rise in the east, and you'd see the shadows of the bars stretching across the floor.
Oof.
And you wondered about all the people that spent time in there.
Probably saying
From 1887, saw the same thing.
moon.
Yeah, the very
Jeez.
same thing, except on a concrete floor.
That's-
I have a rug.
That's crazy though. But think about it. I mean, it's the
It's the same
same
one.
thing.
Same thing. Nothing has changed. That's the one thing that has not changed. That moon has risen and gone down.
So you hadn't seen no damn apparitions in the night. or
Only
anything?
thing I saw one night that weirded me out was during a big thunderstorm, and just like you guys a while ago, I heard something, thunder and lightning, and I heard this swishing, and I flipped on the light, and there was a dadgum bat in the room, and I still can't figure out how that bat got in.
Well, we've had two in here
Two-
today.
and we've never
either
had
the
'em.
It's either the same one that got
Yeah.
in the same way, or we had two in here before.
Surely
the
that fucker didn't
podcast.
come back.
It looked the same, Chef. I can't tell you.
I remember how I got him. I kept watching him. I thought, how am I going to get this bat? and he would go, and I watched his altitude, and he would go around and make the same 360 at the same altitude above my head, and it was at the level of a ceiling fan. So I just flipped the ceiling fan on, and he went around that east ceiling fan, and it whacked him.
And that was all she wrote.
And I just opened the window and pitched him out.
They're nasty. This is the bat that I saw today is the first bat I've ever seen in the wild, and it is nasty little booger.
Yeah.
It's got a little tail on it about like that,
Yeah.
hairless.
Looks like a freaking vampire. I mean, they do.
And Mexican free-tailed bats.
I thought Jeff was going to get bit and like turn into a superhero
Looking
somehow.
at him. It's like, I don't know about all that.
I think of, you were talking about just things staying the same. We had a big thunderstorm. Have you seen the pictures that came from that thunderstorm from yesterday in Colorado City? The dust storm that came with it?
I did see that.
I think I was telling Tony this today. I'm like, could you imagine you're a plainsman and then something like that conjures up? You're thinking, what in the hell is coming my way? And what, because they weren't trees here at that time, were there?
Very few.
Where am I going to go?
Few. Yeah.
I mean, talk about hell on earth.
Frustration and the fright. Well, I have a book on cattle drives, and this guy tells about his experiences on some of the last cattle drive that occurred in the late 1880s. And he talked about getting up in the Texas Panhandle and a tornado hitting them, and the hail first, and how they got off their horses. And actually, it was in the 1870s, and they got off their horses and put their saddles over their heads to keep from getting beat to death. And then coming up on a herd of buffalo that was literally in a rick, dead from the tornado. And he called it like a big cyclone's what they call it, cyclones. Because I remember my dad back in the 50s and 60s, cyclones coming.
That was the term back then.
That was the term.
Yep.
Get out of bed, boy. Let's go to the cellar. Cyclone's coming. And you'd get out, and hell, it already hit.
Yeah. that hailstorm, though, which me tornado chasing, I've been in some big-ass hail.
Yeah.
And I was awful damn glad I've been in my truck, and I've been in my truck when my windows have blown out. But
Yeah.
he still was in a truck.
Yeah.
To be out in the open like that,
Oh, sure.
beat the piss out of you.
Sure. I mean, it would kill you.
Yeah. You get into some baseball-sized hail, and it's going to kill you if it hits you.
Yeah, I've seen the aftermath of hailstorms that I didn't know had hit. Like, for instance, in the 70s or early 80s, I was on the backside of the old Ross back on Bird Creek. And I came up on that hill that overlooks Bird Creek one day, and I'm going, what happened? How did they spray the cedars here? I don't know any spray for cedars. And it wasn't that wide, perhaps a quarter of a mile wide and maybe a mile long. And then I went down there, and there were pocks in the ground, and it was just a tremendous hailstorm that literally beat the cedars to death. And all the mesquites, the leaves were gone, and all the cedar leaves were gone.
That's crazy. Not to change the subject, we'll change the subject. Did you notice our cactus out coming in or dying coming in here? That's from that freeze.
That's from the freeze.
I read yesterday where all the big oak trees, live oaks down in the hill country, a lot of them, they don't know if they're going to come back.
I don't doubt it.
Big trees.
Your cactuses look good compared to ours. We've got some this big, and they're just going to melt like jelly.
I kept coming. I noticed them one day, and I was like, first I thought someone ran into them, and I didn't. And I was like, who the hell hit the fucking cactus? And then there's some people that come out here because the Mexicans cut them off and make whatever palapis or
I'm not sure the name.
But they cook, they eat them.
Sure.
And I've got a couple of families that, and they get all help yourself.
Sure.
I thought, damn, somebody didn't cut off. They took off half the damn things, And every day they get worse looking.
What they're going to do is they're going to basically turn into jelly. Mm-hmm. And they stink. It happened several years ago. We had a big freeze, and it killed a bunch of ours, at least portions of them. And I had to go in there with a chainsaw and cut them and take a fork and fork them out in the trailer. What you don't do, even though these don't have the big thorns, don't think leather gloves will help you. Because those little hairy jobs, they'll work their way through your leather gloves right into your hand. So whatever you do, just take a front end loader and scoop them up, but don't do it with your hand.
Well, those things, some of them things in there are as thick as a 8-inch log. They're real heavy duty.
Yeah.
I thought about just burning them maybe.
Yeah. Well, they're so juicy.
Yeah,
they're so juicy. You'd have to let them lay all summer and just dry up into basically dust before it's like a real pithy tree, like say for instance a cottonwood that gets real pithy, and when it gets old, it's like you can pick a piece up and it'll blow away.
Mm-hmm.
That's how this cactus will get eventually, and that's the only way you can burn it.
I wonder if is the whole thing going to die, you think?
I doubt if all of it will die. Yeah. What I say out there a while ago when I turned in, and I thought this, I thought, well, they didn't lose it all, but they lost a bunch of it.
And that was a very mature,
Yeah.
but I mean, there's a whole lot of families been eating on them things for 2 or 3 years.
The custodian at the courthouse, he's come to me, and asked me, I said, go out and get all you want, eat the damn thing.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Have you ever eaten them?
Never.
I haven't either. I wonder if they're any good.
Now I heard that they use cactus to purify their water
I'm not certain.
back in the day. I think it might have not even worked, but
Yeah.
it might have just been cactus flavored piss river water.
Yeah, that's right.
Back then.
They changed the river water to something at least palatable, like coffee. Make coffee out of jip water. Can you imagine that? And that's what they used to do when they come through here.
They were not real picky about water. They were just happy to have it.
Oh, my goodness, yeah. Yeah.
I don't think they got all the diseases we have. I don't think we had all the diseases here that we had then.
Well, it's like my cardiologist told me a couple of years ago, and we were talking about the immune system, and he said, see, you have to understand, he said, your immune system is better than mine because you grew up, basically, I mean, he didn't say this in this term, but he said, you grew up in a more filthy environment than I did.
Right, yeah.
I used to eat dirt, cow shit, horse crap. I mean, all of that stuff as a kid. And he said, that's going to make you less immune, less susceptible to these diseases that are coming through.
I think that's with COVID. I think that
Probably so.
The people that have been out, that's why Florida's numbers are down. The people have been out and exposed, and they haven't just stuck in the house all the time. Mm-hmm. We went to Boston in October, and I seen dust on cars that was 2-3 inches thick on some of them. They've been sitting for 6 months. We were there in October, and they've been sitting since March. So 7-8 months. And you could see that you go down the streets, and there was cars that hadn't been moved.
Good gracious.
I mean, it was just, it looked like a ghost town. Yeah. I don't know how that many people in the city stay inside anyways.
And stay alive. I don't know.
Yeah, and they were. You didn't see people on the streets. You didn't see anything hardly.
I've always said this in a joking way, but it's really true. I mean, every kid ought to eat a mud pie once every 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get exposed to
Really
things
should.
that other people don't. I never thought about that, but that's exactly right.
When I lived, like for instance, when I was trapping on the Pitchfork back in the 70s, living in that trapping cabin, that old dugout, I mean, it was filthy. I mean, I would have carcasses piled up, and the only time I would move them was when the blowflies got so bad that they were taking over, and then I would just load the trailer up with carcasses and carry it off down into the canyon, throw them away, and then I'd start a new pile. But that in itself is a way, as I got older, I still lived in that manner, which subjected me to all the germs and all the viruses, and I never had a cold. I've never had a sore throat because I just lived. It was always cold down there, and I was acclimated to those conditions. I was living with blowflies. I didn't eat them, but hell, they were all in the house, and it was like everybody kind of lived in this happiness together, like kind of a commune.
That's right.
A stinky commune.
I saw about they were talking about the peanut allergy. I've got my kid's in kindergarten now, first year. No peanuts, nothing. No peanut candy, nothing. And I heard a guy, he was saying, we are attacking the peanut allergy in the exact opposite way that we should. Instead of having kids just do away with peanuts, we need to slowly get these kids, we basically build up their immunities.
Right.
If we would just slowly, somebody that might be susceptible to the peanut allergy, if we slowly kind of indoctrinate them, we can get rid of the peanut allergy. I'm going to hit this thing all night.
Your kids are exposed to that, though.
Right. Yeah, no, my kids don't have a peanut allergy, but the scientist was saying just doing away with peanuts is going to just propagate this problem into the future.
I'm not a scientist, but I mean, a medical scientist, but I believe it. Give them all peanut patties.
Yeah.
That's right.
Mix a little sugar with it and let them eat.
You think about when you were a kid, did you know anybody that was allergic to peanut butters or peanuts? I don't
No.
either. Not a kid.
No.
Now, I'm sure there might have been some, but it's like everything else. We bend over fucking backwards to appease everybody else that we're ruining our country.
I believe it.
Not our country, but we're ruining these kids by doing that. How many water hoses you drink out of a kid?
Oh my goodness! Ask me how many stock tanks.
Yeah. How about
drank
this? Me and Michelle were watching TV the other day. They drank out of a dang water fountain at a police station or something we were watching. Every place I ever went to grew up at Old High.
Had a water
We
fountain.
drank water fountain every day.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
There's
Same
1,600
way.
kids in there, and if you wanted to drink water, which I'm assuming out of 1,600 kids, at least 1,400 of them were getting to drink out of the water fountain every day.
Right.
Probably more than that.
Yeah.
Nobody thought nothing of it.
No. I mean, today I wouldn't drink out of a stock tank just because of the pesticides.
Right.
But would you drink out of a water fountain?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah. Could you imagine if you put a water fountain up at Texas Tech, how many people would drink out of it? Nobody would. They would all be scared to death. They're like, oh my God.
Sterilized, yeah.
Can you believe they're drinking out of it? They're all using
Look,
their.
that old guy's drinking out of the water fountain. He's
Yeah.
crazy. You know?
They didn't push the button and wash their hands.
In the '60s, you know, we'd be driving cattle on the ranch, and you just lay down and blow and scare the water striders away, and get you a belly full of water. And you look up, and there'd be a damn dead cow on the other end of the tank. You go, wow, I didn't know that, you know, but the water was good.
You didn't think about things
Didn't
like
think
that.
about
We
it,
weren't
no.
scared about stuff.
The only thing I wouldn't drink was Jip water, because that was bad tasting stuff. It'd make you sick.
How would you know it was Jip?
Oh, you taste it. Just fill up, put about 3 tablespoons of salt in a glass of water, stir it up real good, and drink it.
That'll
Jip.
do it. That's
to you.
Jip water.
That'll clean you out.
Yeah.
Who was the guy that died out here in a stock tank? He was an old cowboy.
Bradley.
Oh
that
yeah,
was, it was
yeah.
Bradley.
That was
Biggin.
Biggin
Biggin.
Bradley. He was a first Marlboro man. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the first. Now they don't ever really know what happened to him. He had just gone out that day and never came back.
Well, see, my dad worked him for a while. He worked for Daddy, and there was a propensity to ride a horse hard, and he was on a young horse that day, a young bronc, and sometimes if a bronc got a little too salty, you would ride them into water where they couldn't buck and settle them down, and this tank had a drop off, and that horse went in, and my dad always told my brother and I, never ride your horse into a tank that you don't know. And if you do and the horse goes down, if you can't swim, the first thing he's going to do, if you get off, he's going to try to get on top of you, just like a man. He said the first thing you do is to slide off the back and grab him by the tail until he drowns or he pulls you to safety. But never try to swim away from him.
because he's just going to follow you.
He's going to follow you and get on top of you. He's just like a man. He wants out. And you're the safety. You know, you're the boat.
Right.
And they said he had some bruises on his head where he was pawed in the head. So more than likely he separated from the horse and he just turned around and pawed him, knocked him out, and he both drowned.
Now, him and Danny Mac were big running buddies, weren't they?
I'm not sure of that. I'm not totally sure, but I'm sure. I'll bet you they were.
Yeah, because I've heard Danny at Thanksgiving and everywhere.
Yeah. But Daddy worked him for a while. Day worked when he left the 4 Cities.
And he was the first Marlboro man.
He was one of the first Marlboro men. Yes.
And then Donnie Ryder, who just passed away, was one also, right?
He was a Marlboro, as was Mike Morehouse.
Okay.
How did they find him?
They'd go to stock shows.
Uh-huh.
And they'd have a photographer, and you'd have like a guy that just knew faces, and they'd just walk around and go, yeah, he's got a good chisel face. Let's ask him. And they'd set him up against the wall and just take a picture of him, and then they would send it back to, I believe, to an ad agency in Detroit, I believe, and or Chicago, one of the two. I know one of the photographers was from Chicago because I met him, and they'd check him out and say, let's check this guy out and ask if he wants to be a Marlboro man.
What'd they pay him?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. The last I heard, and this was a long time ago, they were getting $1,000 a day. This was back in the 70s.
So they weren't getting paid like $15,000 or $20,000 a year. They were just getting a day.
A day rate. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I understand.
That was $1,000 a day back then. Was a shitload of money though.
In '75, they did a Marlboro shoot about a mile west of where I grew up, and my dad and mom still lived out there, and I spent about 3 days with them on that shoot and shot some pictures, just because my daddy was in it. And there was Dean Myers and then Daryl Winfield out of Wyoming were the two Marlboro men. The red-headed guy with the mustache, he was the one, and then Dean Myers from Seymour was the other.
Dean Myers, one of my good friends, John Ballard, his dad was a cowboy and national finals guy, and his dad and Dean were good friends because he used to always talk about the Marlboro Man, and that was the name. And I've always and that's the name, Dean Myers.
Yeah.
He was from Seymour.
Yeah.
Him and Mr. Ballard were friends.
Yeah.
So who are which one on the screen right there?
The one on the bottom left is
the
the
bottom
redhead.
left is Daryl Winfield.
This one right there?
Yes, that's Daryl Winfield. And above that, right.
Oh, right there.
Yeah, that's Daryl Winfield. He lived on the Sioux reservation, I believe, and was married to a Sioux woman, I think. That's what Donnie told me. Yeah. And he was a super nice guy. Super nice guy.
Wonder where big. So that would probably be him also right there.
Yes, that's him with a mustache, and that's him. The next one to the right's also Daryl.
Oh, right there.
I'm so old. I remember when these were in all the magazines.
Yeah, you don't see this. Could you imagine a cigarette commercial today?
Yeah.
There's no way.
I still have that advertisement they shot.
Really?
It was a 4-page fold out. It came out in several magazines, including Playboy, and might have been where I got it. But I have it framed at home.
I'll be damned.
Yeah,
there's Biggin right there.
Which one is he?
Yes, that's Biggin.
Yeah, that's Biggin.
Biggin. Yeah.
Yeah, he had the
He is a big
creased up cat.
Yeah.
What was how was he socially? Was he a nice guy? Was he tough to get? Yeah, Biggin.
I never spent any time around him. Daddy did.
Yeah.
And
I just didn't know how you get a nickname like Biggin unless you kind of carry a big stick or if you're just a larger fella.
I know that he rode a horse I broke one time on the 60s and ended up the horse got killed. I named the horse Bronc, just Bronc. And Daddy sold him to the 460s, and Biggin was riding him when he got killed. They pulled a trailer through a gate that had a wire over the top, and it caught the horse in the throat and killed him. Yeah.
Oof. What do you think about the new TV show going to be filmed out there that they're saying? Have you heard about this?
Yeah, on 6s.
The 6s. Yeah. So I think they're going to do a spin-off of Yellowstone.
Yellowstone?
Yeah.
Are they going to film it in Guthrie?
Yeah.
I had a guy call me a couple weeks ago, and I guess he was a location guy and was asking about the lodge and stuff for putting people up and maybe I don't know what I talked to him for a little bit. I ain't never heard back from him. I don't know if I'll ever hear from him again.
Yeah.
But anyways, and that's when I first realized that this thing really must be going to be going on then.
I understand it's going to happen.
And it's going to be filmed in our area
on the
right
460s,
here.
On the 460s.
Yeah, well, they'll film some stuff outside of
Oh,
it
I'm
like
sure
they do
they
in
will.
Yellowstone.
Yeah.
I've been to me and Michelle went to that ranch in where they film Yellowstone at.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a damn tourist trap now.
I bet it is.
And
I bet it
the
is.
4.6s, I guess, will probably be the same way.
Oh, my goodness. You know it will.
They had an article on Good Housekeeping. Yellowstone spinoff series coming. Everything we know about it's just going to be called 4.6s.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I saw that recently, but I thought somebody was saying that they filmed an episode of Yellowstone in Guthrie.
They did.
Oh, they did do that too.
They did, yes.
So that might be the link.
I don't know if it was a whole episode. They filmed,
They filmed
part of
of
one.
it. Right.
Yeah, right. It was
right.
just a piece of one, yeah.
Yeah.
And they filmed one at is 4.6s also in the Panhandle got somewhere? They filmed some of it up there also.
Okay, yeah, at Borger. Yeah.
Yes. And so but anyways, they're supposed to be filming a bunch of it down here, which would be good for our local economy.
Oh, it will. It will.
I wonder if we're going to get what's that chick's name that's on there?
Beth Dutton.
Yeah, I wonder if we're going to get a Beth Dutton out here.
We had an opportunity, and hunting season is not good for us, but we had an opportunity to interview Rip.
Yeah, what's his name?
Oh, yeah.
Cole Hauser.
Cole Hauser.
And we were too busy and couldn't get it done.
And they
Blackhead
contacted
guy.
He came out with a new movie or some wrestling movie, and they contacted us about putting him on the show. And
I heard he was a nice guy.
I think, yeah,
Real nice
he's a
guy.
hunter and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I know a lot of them guys are liberals on there. I'm not a big Kevin Costner fan, but I love the person he portrays on the show.
Yeah, yeah.
Why can't you be like that? I mean, that's a good
Really?
guy instead of being a liberal twat.
I agree.
But this show here, if it's a big hit, it will be really good for our economy.
Oh, yeah.
And there are some batshit crazy women around here, so there's a Beth Dutton in our area.
I don't doubt it.
Now I heard rumors that Kroenke might purchase the 6s also. No. Okay.
Is it sold already? Must be.
It's under contract.
So it is. That's good.
It's under contract.
Good.
That's a good thing then.
Yeah.
We don't need him owning anything else out here.
He owns enough out here.
He's but he's not buying.
Good.
Good. Yeah, that was just.
You know, when you
rumor.
talk quiet, they still hear you. But I am glad that it's under contract by somebody else. Then,
Well, I
understand.
I just don't know.
We got you.
I don't know everything.
Gotcha.
We got
Wink,
you.
wink.
But I'm glad. but I am glad that he's not doing it.
Yeah.
That's good. I still can't believe they've got Lake Diversion shut down like they do. And I'm surprised Lake Kemp's open.
When he first got it, I just heard that it was going to happen. I hadn't heard any more. I don't know.
They shut down Lake Diversion. All those people that
They
lived
shut
there
it down?
kicked them all out.
Well, I heard, I know from some of the cowboys when I was shooting the book on the Wagner that Lake Diversion was basically methamphetamine headquarters.
Oh,
I think that's very true. There were some good people out there, but the majority of it, I think, is exactly what it was.
Because they would see them out in the pastures.
Yeah,
out there.
I think they had a lot of trouble there.
Yeah. And they weren't hiking for their health.
No, not at all. But I'm surprised but I felt sorry for the people that lived there that weren't that way. I think that I would not be surprised if they went in there and built a big resort, though. Mm-hmm. It's pretty water.
So I've never been to Diversion.
It's pretty. It's got some pretty water on it. Yeah. It's about like Kemp. It's kind of a desolate place, but you could go in there and clean it up and build a nice hotel and a golf course around it.
Yeah.
And jet set those, build a private rental, because he's hanging out with them kind of people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, there's not a lot of places that you can buy and get 3 lakes and property that you own 100% of all the rest.
That's right.
And I'm really surprised Lake Kemp's that he hasn't locked it down yet.
I heard that there were levels of it that he did, but I'm out of the loop on it. I don't know.
So obviously where we get our water from, Miller Creek, that's man-made. I mean, Diversion, that's everything's man-made.
Mm-hmm. Lake Caddo, I think, is the only lake in Texas.
I think that's right.
That's natural.
Even Davis up around Benjamin.
Oh yeah, everything. Every lake in Texas is man-made.
Yeah. They built Davis when I was out there in 1960. They started in 59, finished in 60, and it filled up overnight.
Really?
Yeah. They figured it would take years, and I still remember Dad coming to school and picking us up like it was in September, and saying, "Y'all come on, I'm gonna take you to the lake's full," and we right there at Pate's barn, as you go across that bridge, there's probably 18 inches of water coming over the highway right there. That's
good rain.
Oh, big rain. And we drove out to the lake, and that spillway was just exploding. It looked like a nuclear bomb out the back. It was totally full.
So everybody out here in the 1800s was solely reliant on springs and rivers.
Springs and rivers and playas.
Playas would fill up.
Wetlands, yeah.
I read that the settlers, when they would cross the Texas Panhandle, if they would hit it in a dry year, a lot of them would die from thirst.
It's called the Great American Desert.
Yeah, and then when the wet years, it would be.
Yeah, the Great American Desert. In 1877, I believe, is when John Cook and some other buffalo hunters actually went and rescued some of Nolan's soldiers who were after some Comanches that got off of the reservation, and they headed over to Bull Lake, I believe, over going to be kind of southwest of Lubbock, and a lot of the buffalo soldiers, or Nolan's soldiers, and I think they were buffalo soldiers out of Fort Griffin, they were pretty well nearly starved to death. In fact, they had already killed their horses, drank the blood, and then pinned the note on their chest and gave their names, and had their saddle blankets over their faces when they found them. And John Cook, they killed an antelope and cleaned the stomach and filled it full of water at Yellow House Canyon and went out and rescued these guys.
Wow. I didn't realize that they would drink the blood of the horses. Yeah. I think it was about the Donner Party I was reading about.
Yeah.
And I think that they said that they would also do that just in dire straits.
Anything liquid.
But why were they doing that at the Donners? They had snow up to their ass, didn't they?
Yeah, I think they just drank each other's blood.
Yeah. What have you researched that rat nest?
I've read the book.
The Ordeal by Honker.
Years ago.
That's what I was reading. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe I'm getting everything confused. But I did not realize that they would drink the blood. I didn't realize that there was much hydration by drinking horses' blood.
I didn't either. But I guess if it's wet, they drink.
If you're in bad straits, then you'll drink just about anything.
You know, the sad thing is a lot of those across the plains up there, if they would have taken a shovel and dug 12 feet, they've gotten some water.
That's right.
And we got water at the lodge here. It's 13 foot deep. You got good water.
Yeah.
And you know it was that way there in a lot of places.
Yep.
Those poor people, they just listened to the wrong guy. They just
Oh, the Donner Party?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They just took that wrong route. They thought it was a closer route,
Yeah.
and it was across some of the most, formidable country in the mountains.
That's a place I haven't been yet. That's around Truckee, California, isn't it?
I'm not
Donner
sure.
Pass?
Donner Pass, yeah.
I think it's somewhere up there.
I know they crossed the Great Salt Lake. I think their tire tracks or wheel tracks are still.
Really?
I think they're
Oh,
still
wow.
in the sand somehow.
Man, that's just so fascinating. You see that stuff. I've seen it in the Panhandle, Texas Panhandle, up on the Canadian, where a portion of the Santa Fe Trail that extends down into the Panhandle, and all the wagon tracks are still cut.
Mm-hmm.
And if you'll get it's pretty close to the New Mexico line, but it's still in Texas, and you can see as the hills, the grassy hills, and you can see it's wide as a 4-lane highway. You can still see the wagon tracks as they meander into the west. It's amazing. Pick up lead line cans.
That's what we went to. Is this the picture you're talking about? Kind of like right there.
Sort of like that. Yeah, that kind of looks like around Dodge City, Kansas. I've seen wagon tracks like that. In fact, the Fort Bascom, Fort Smith wagon trail is like that in the northern Panhandle, north of the Canadian. I mean, it's like 5 feet deep in places.
Wow.
And of course, I'm sure a lot of it is erosion.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a photograph when I was shooting the Texas Rivers book. I tackled the Canadian first, and once I found Alvin Lynn, who was my guide, we got into a chopper and flew up there, and I shot aerials. I mean, it just meanders across the plain forever. That trail.
There's not a bigger wasteland in the world between liberal Kansas and Canadian Texas.
It's pretty rough.
Oh.
Yeah.
But we went skiing 2 weeks ago, I guess. We went to Red River, and it's an 8-hour car ride.
Yeah.
I was ready to strangle my kids. I couldn't imagine setting out from Missouri, and we're going to head out west and make it to California.
Those kids minded better than your kids do.
What are you going to do with them for a 3-month trek?
I mean, they got the crap beat out of them a lot.
I mean, they had chores and shit to do by the time they were 3.
Right.
But
That's right.
And in that Ordeal by Hunger book, because we would go 10 miles and somebody was hungry or thirsty.
Yeah.
And of course, they're running low on food.
Yeah.
They said it was so bad they would flatten a bullet and the kids would suck on that bullet just to kind of get something in their mouth to make them salivate a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, my kid can't make it 30 miles without needing a drink.
I just can't believe that you can be anywhere in this country and you can't find something to eat to kill. And I know there are places like that, but I watch these survival shows on TV and stuff. Thinking, you're a piss poor hunter or fisherman if you can't find something to eat or drink.
So it may not taste good, but you can eat it.
You can find something to eat.
Yeah.
This field in front of the house, you could find something to eat right
got
here.
a mouse or something.
There's something out there, and that just blows my mind. And those people I don't know much about the Donner fan.
You should read the book.
Are they hunters? Yeah. I've got the book at the house.
They were farmers, I believe, in Missouri.
More domestic. Yeah.
And maybe but
what
you're not going to starve.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what amazes me when you read some of the historical accounts of some of the early pioneers, especially the hill country, is how many of the people were not armed.
Talking about that, I don't remember reading anything about the Donner Party having ammunition.
You just said they were getting the kids bullets.
Well, that's true too. So I guess they did.
But it's like you will read. Let's see, Will Barger's account of the Indian raids in Texas. Will Barger's is the last name. A darn good book, very factual. And I suggest anybody who really wants to see some facts about the Indian raids, especially in the hill country, get Will Barger's book on the Indian attacks in hill country. But he tells about these guys would leave and nobody would have any guns.
Yeah, that's crazy.
They'd leave their wives at home and they might have an old shotgun or something that, and then they wouldn't shoot. They just let them come on in. And it's crazy. You ought to know what they're going to do to you.
Yes, yeah.
Shoot, at least make a showing.
Yeah, you got one chance, and you better kill somebody.
Make a showing, man.
That's exactly right. Have you been down the Devil's River?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
It looks like a beautiful place.
It is.
I've seen on TV. I didn't even know nothing about it till about 10 years ago.
Devil's River is an incredibly beautiful river. In fact, I've got to shoot a 40,000 acre place down on the Devils here in the future.
How long is that river?
I'm not sure. I have been from Dolan Falls to what they call Sage, which is like a 2-day run on a canoe. I believe day and a half, 2 days, shooting for a magazine story. Then I spent a lot of time at Dolan Falls, which is the most, what is it? Has more volume of water than any waterfall in Texas.
Mm-hmm. It has to be one of the best treasures in Texas that not very many people know about.
Yeah, it is, but it's a long ways off the road. It's the reason you're not going to see it. 26 miles on a dirt road.
To get to it?
Yeah, actually, to get to the gate, to go into the wildlife management area, and then you got to drive to then you can't go to the falls unless you get to the Nature Conservancy and get their permission, because it's a locked gate.
And you have to get their permission to go any further.
Permission to go in.
And it goes into Lake Amistad, right?
Yes. Yes.
So how far is that from Mexico then? The Devil's River, does it start out in Mexico, or is it coming the wrong way?
Devil's River starts up, in Ozona, up in that region.
Okay. So it's not, ain't Amistad on the border?
Amistad's on the border.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm trying to look at it now, but I can't get the damn state to come up. I can just get
Sonora. I think Sonora is where the Devil is going to head, somewhere up in that Sonora country.
Yeah, I'm getting it now, and it's coming up, and it's showing it now. So it's coming up from like Sonora.
Yeah.
Loma Alta, Juneau, place I never heard of.
Juneau, yeah.
That is a really cool place, but it comes from way up. It does start up by Juneau's where it starts up at.
You got the Dry Devils, and then you've got the Devils.
Oh, I didn't even realize that. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Oh, it's a pretty place.
It's incredible. In fact, I'm surprised because I've probably taken the most incredible shot of Dolan Falls that's been taken. In fact, I gave it. It was at the Nature Conservancy has it, and it should be on there because it was. And I've been there numerous times.
Is this where you did your class?
My class, and see that image up there, Dolan Falls Preserve, nature.org.
Yeah.
And that white water, you got your
right here.
there.
Yep.
One of my students nearly drowned there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What happened?
See the rocks? Okay,
Yeah.
we arrived one day, and I told them all, I said, okay, the light's not good. Everybody chill out, get you a beer, do what you're going to do, swim a little bit, and chill out until the light gets good, and then we're going to start shooting. Well, I laid down on the rocks there to get a little sun, just kind of taking it easy, and one of the co-eds came up and said, hey, we're going to take a picture, and some of us jumping in, so would you jump in with? I said, I don't, I'm not a big water guy, but I can swim. My mama was always afraid that we would drown in a stock tank, so she made sure that we were little kids get swimming lessons.
Right.
But I'm not a water freak. I don't just gravitate to water.
I don't like it either.
And so even if there was a giant lake here, I would not have a cabin. And so anyway, I said, I really don't want to jump in the water. It was cold.
Yeah.
The water was cold, even though it was May. And so, please jump in. All right, I'll jump in. So we all hold hands, the instructor and several students. And then the person with the camera said, okay, 1, 2, 3, jump. And so we jump. And you can see it's probably 8 feet maybe to the water.
Right.
And it's probably 20 feet deep, right there, 20 feet deep.
Right where the water is wide.
Straight where the water hits the rock, it's 20 feet deep, straight up. And so when you go down, you keep coming up, and then all of a sudden you come to the top. And I heard someone say, "What's wrong, Robert?" And so I turn around, and one of the students is gasping for air, and he's going down, coming up, going down, coming up. I can't swim. I can't breathe.
What the hell? You jump in the water for?
It was the frenzy of the moment.
What the hell?
He thought he was going to learn how to swim.
Everybody was going, hey, I want to be part of the jump,
Shit.
And so I'm going, okay, we got an issue right now.
Big one.
That's big time. If I swim up and grab him, he outweighs me 30 pounds. We're going down for good.
Yep.
For keeps. So I swam up behind him, and I put my left hand under his armpit just to give him some buoyancy, and I said, everything is going to be okay. I said, turn around and paddle as hard as you can toward that wall right there. And so I started paddling with one hand, and he was paddling and gasping and coughing, and I got him to the wall, and there's little eroded holes that's just big enough for your fingers. I said, get your fingers in those holes. I can't. I said, yes, you can. Get your fingers in the holes. So he got his fingers in a couple of holes, and then one of the students, we had one life jacket. One of the students threw the life jacket in the river, and a grad student swam out to get it, and we got it on him, and then I was so weak I couldn't swim.
Jeez.
And so you have to swim probably, I'd say, 20 yards around to this lower left-hand corner to a point where you reach up like 2 feet and hoist yourself out of the water because it's like 10 to 15 feet deep straight down. And so I just rolled over on my back and backpedaled until I got around to that point, and I barely had enough energy to pull myself out of the water. And whenever he come walking by, a little while later, he said, "Thanks for saving me." I said, "Stay away from the river."
Don't jump in again.
Stay away
There's
from
the
the river,
Wyman
buddy.
picture on the bottom.
So is this which one?
Hey,
which one
on
is
the
yours?
left?
Yeah, the snow picture. That's mine. The lower left is mine. Let's see.
What about of Devil's River?
There's hey, okay.
There's a picture of you.
There's
Is
there's okay, that's us, and we're doing a stunt shot. Okay, with the girls and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing a stunt shot on
that's
the Llano. Okay.
So those hot chicks in your class?
Most of them were. Yeah. I don't know why, but I had a lot of girls. And that's one of my students with a Texas Tech cap on.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the Paladeur shot at night, that's mine.
This one right here.
To the left of me. Yeah.
I still can't believe the sucker jumped in the water.
Yeah.
I'm a swimmer. Water don't
Yeah.
scare me at all.
Yeah.
At all. So it doesn't bother me. But for someone, well, I can't swim. What the?
Why?
It was just the frenzy of
Right.
the excitement of the, everybody
Wanted to be in the
everybody
picture.
jump in the water.
He wanted to be in the picture.
I was with a guy that did that at the lake one time, and we were in 30 foot of water at a dock, kind of a dock off at, and everybody's jumping in and stuff. And he kind of falls over. He's got a life jacket on, but he's got it done like on his legs, and he's flailing. I go, "What are you doing?" I said,
On
"What are
his
you doing?"
legs?
Yeah, I kind of said, "I go, what are you doing?" "Oh, I can't swim." I go, "What are you doing?" I said, "Put that freaking life jacket on you." I said, "My fat ass is the only person that can go down and save you, and I don't want to have to go down 10, 15, 20 feet try to grab you."
Yeah,
You know,
right.
because if you start fighting me down there, buddy, you're on your own.
You're
'cause
on
I'm
your
coming back
own.
up.
Yeah.
How hard is that water falling into that river?
It's unbelievable. It's a thunder.
Beat the
Really.
hell out of you.
It's a thunder. One of my students was a former Marine.
Mm-hmm.
He'd just gotten out of the Marines. And I told him before I got there, and this was either the previous year or the next year. And then after that, I stopped teaching because I was just like, 3 years, tit-tat-toe, 3 in a row.
Yep.
And so I told him before I got there, I said, "Now you guys do not walk in the river above the falls because it's like walking on glass." And he did. And he washed his feet out from under him and he went over the falls. And we saw him go down, go under a big boulder, and didn't come up. In that white frothy water. And I'm going, we're all sitting there going, 1, 2, 3, come on, come on, come on, come on. And he was strong, and he said, "I saw daylight," and he said, "I kicked toward the daylight," and pushed himself out from under that boulder.
So everybody else would have drowned probably.
That's my biggest fear.
So y'all were on a canoe trip and y'all just had one life jacket?
No, that was my class, and,
Okay.
and we were there just to shoot photographs.
So you just drove in there,
Right.
or
No, on that
hiked in?
canoe trip that I shot the magazine story for, everybody had life jackets, yeah.
I see that on Lone Star Law. They were there the other day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they were going through. They go down there at nighttime.
Yeah.
The guy that runs that place and that lady, there's a lady lady game warden. She works Amistad net, and him and her go down there at nighttime and they check campsites at night.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now you got some balls to go canoeing down that thing at nighttime.
Yeah, there's some pretty wicked water. I remember we hit a rapids at one point. And so I would always get out of the canoe and take all my camera gear because I didn't trust, staying afloat. And so I said, "I'll meet you guys below the rapids and I'll get back in." And so my buddy Canute was in the canoe. I know he had a Walther pistol with him and everything. And his canoe came crashing down through there, and he just went up on a boulder just like this and just kind of poised there, and it just went over. He was totally immersed. His pistol was wet. We lost a table, a chair, like 10 feet of water. And then when we righted the canoe, we headed on down the river. You know?
They say it's a cool place, but if it was not so isolated, it would be a really big tourist place.
Another point about that river is there's a lot of hostile landowners, and everywhere you go down that river, if you try to camp, well, there's rocks painted purple.
No camping.
And I don't blame them. If I owned that ranch, I'd be the
Hey,
same way.
I don't, because I've seen what some people can do.
They trash it and they do it.
Trash it up. You bet.
I bet a deer lease on that place in that area is pretty expensive
Probably is.
because they say it's some good fishing in there too.
Oh man, you talking about smallmouth bass? You bet.
It's a beautiful place.
You bet. On the Pecos, everybody goes over the Pecos up around, below Crane and places like that, and it's like, good God, hey, you get down below the Independent Spring, where the confluence of the Independent Spring, and where it comes into the Pecos, and that is one beautiful river, gorgeous river, deep blue water, and some serious rapids.
And that would be south of Crane.
Yes, that's the ugly part.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I never knew about it either. Texas is a neat place.
Yeah, you go to Fort Stockton from Midland, Odessa, and you cross that Pecos River, and you think, geez, that's the armpit of the world. It's not. You go down the river, and it's gorgeous.
Really?
Yes.
I would have never thought that. I know my brother, he worked out in Pecos for a while, and he said it is a terrible, just armpit of Texas.
Yep.
I want to go back to, so another thing that I had heard, and maybe you can shed some light on this. A lot of the big ranches that we see that have popped up in Texas in the late 1800s, post-Civil War, is there any truth that a lot of those people were just cattle rustlers that dodged the Civil War?
That I don't know.
Okay.
I can't say.
I can do some investigating.
Yeah, I don't know that. I know, of course, you got your Wagner, you got Burke Burnett, those big guys, and they were just good businessmen.
Right.
They were tough, they were ruthless, and that's how they put it all together. And but as far as any outlaws making inroads as big ranchers, I'm not sure.
Well, not so much outlaws, but they just
dodged the Civil War.
They dodged the Civil War, and what would happen is a lot of these homesteads, they would go off and fight. Nobody to tend to the cows, so there would be just loose cows everywhere. Yeah. And
I know that during the Civil War, that's when a lot of this wild cattle occurred, especially in that San Antonio, the Wild Horse Desert region. Lots of stuff cropped up down there because of that.
There is, if you accumulated 400,000 acres back in the day, there's a good chance there's some illegal activity took place somewhere.
Let's just say there was some pretty tough cookies.
They were.
I mean, that off.
Yeah, there's because someone was going to try to screw you if you weren't screwing them and protecting yourselves.
Yeah. It was a dog eat dog world back then.
So how would they? That was another thing. So when we on our trip to Red River, we traveled through the XIT, that whole area. That was a guy from Chicago, I believe, that came and got it. How do they?
The XIT?
Yeah.
Oh, that was a bunch of English guys, Brits.
How do they even hear that there's going to that they have an opportunity for land in Texas, in the Texas Panhandle?
They had the money, and the Texas had a big wide open country, and it was cheap.
Right.
And they bought 3 or 4 million acres and then lost their butts.
How did that all end up dissolving? What happened on that?
I think the winter of 1886 or 1887 or 84. Something like that. The winter of the mid-1880s pretty well knocked them out. I mean, the XIT was very short-lived.
Yes.
Very short-lived. And I think that one winter really, because it pushed cattle all the way to the Pecos River.
How many acres was it at its biggest time?
Oh, good gracious. A couple of million, maybe.
10 million? Is it 10 million? Is that how they got XIT?
It might have been. It went all the way to Lubbock.
It was basically from
Dalhart.
Yes, and basically the whole block of the Panhandle, wasn't it?
Yeah, I've been to the headquarters. There's a
3 million acres.
3 million. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's six times bigger than the Wagner, or 5 times bigger. That's a huge chunk of land.
Yeah.
But not a lot of water.
The headquarters had a lot of water. There's beautiful, I believe it's called Coldwater Creek, runs through there. And I went up there and shot one shot for a magazine story one time in a helicopter, and we landed. And one of the old last headquarter buildings was still there, and I shot that. It was Adobe.
Where was their headquarters at? Was that Miami?
No, it's north of Dalhart.
What little town was it?
There's no town.
I was thinking Miami, Texas was part of the XIT too.
It might have been part of it, but the headquarters is north of Dalhart.
Was north of Dalhart.
Yes.
We did a restaurant there all the time. It was pretty good.
XIT restaurant.
It's XIT restaurant.
But I just can't. Facebook wasn't around back then. How do these guys from overseas in Chicago or wherever they came from, how the hell do they end up in Texas? I'm like, yeah.
They were big with Goodnight.
Yeah.
And they were big with that bunch and his bunch, and they just had a lot of money. I don't know where they got it, but they lost a lot of money too.
Now, Now, what was the deal going to be that they bought that? No, you're good. They purchased the XIT so that they could put the Capitol in Austin, or were they going to put the Capitol up there?
I think some of the, what was it?
Or maybe they traded land.
They traded rock, the stone quarried rock or something. It has to do with XIT, I believe. I believe you're right.
Yeah. I can't remember, but it's just.
Yeah, there is a connection there, but I don't. It's been years since I've read that.
How long did that ranch make it? 10 years?
Oh, no,
XIT?
I don't even know if it. I don't know.
1885 to 1912. I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
But the majority of it was done by the 1900s.
Yeah, it was in the 1880s that storm, that winter storm, killed so many cattle, and they never could recover from it.
Now, have you ever seen a storm this late? The last one that we had in February. Have you ever seen one that late?
I've seen
snow of that severity.
No.
That's the biggest one ever.
I've never seen it. We had in 82. It was longer, but it wasn't this cold. And the wind blew more in 82, but it wasn't this cold.
See, I don't remember the wind blowing that much in 82. I remember it was a cold son of a gun.
Oh, shoot,
but
man, I remember that.
Well, I was in school. Well. I was in school still, so I don't remember that. But I do remember my dad always thought it was longer than it was.
That was the one of 82, 83.
Yeah, it would wear him out because he used to tell us it froze at Thanksgiving, and then when I saw the deals of it, I'm like, no, it wouldn't have been that long. He was dead, but I couldn't argue with him. But
I remember I was in South Texas, down by Falfurus on the La Paloma, and I went down there usually before Christmas, and stayed about 10 days, and the day I got there, I remember vividly. I shot an outdoor life cover, and it was kind of a springish day, overcast, warm, typical South Texas in December. And the next day I got up, and there were icicles hanging off of the bunkhouse I was in. So I called home, and I said, "What is the weather doing there?" And they said, "Well, it's 5 degrees and the wind's blowing 30 miles an hour and it's snowing." And when I got home, it had not let up. And I went out to Horseshoe Tank, and the water, the ice was like 12 inches thick. And I walked out on Horseshoe Tank and sat down under a willow tree and sat there for like an hour and a half or 2 hours photographing geese that had one little hole out in the middle of that tank. And I sat there and shot probably 15 rolls of film of those geese coming in and landing. They'd see me, and they'd keep going just around and around. And I still have those images of all that snow, driving snow in the wind.
Well, it was a cold, miserable time, though.
That's tough. Because I remember one rancher came to me and said, I forgot how many cattle in this one field, and I've got X number of pit tanks, and I can't keep up with knocking holes in the ice. And he said, "Do you have any dynamite?" And at the time, I was working some dynamite. And so I remember some 80% extra gel, and it was frozen, and I had to put it under my heater in the pickup to thaw it. And then we'd tie 2 or 3 sticks together, and we'd go out and chop a hole, maybe a square foot, and about 4 feet of water, and I'd drop 2 or 3 sticks down there, and it would blow a 15-foot hole in the tank, in the water. And we'd go to the next tank and do the same thing.
How long did that last?
That lasted, that cold spell?
No. How long did that hole stay open?
Oh, about overnight.
That's what I say. Next day, you did the same thing about.
Yeah.
That sure beats the hell out of trying to hatchet them.
Well, then, of course, it was maybe 3 inches thick the next morning, and he could cut it.
Somebody had on someone out from that's from here had posted that their dad would take a 5-gallon bucket and fill it with diesel and set it on fire, and that would keep the water open on one end of the tank, and the cows would drink out of it. And I thought that's pretty smart.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be a farmer or a rancher having to cut ice, especially in that kind of shit.
No.
I mean, that's just miserable.
I was doing a lot of coyote photography in this last spell.
Yeah.
And I was out one morning when it was at its worst. It was -4, chill index at 20 below zero. And I remember walking out to a stand with my camera and thinking, I just don't know if I can stand this or not.
How do you do it? Because, I mean, it's not like you have to be so still.
So freaking cold, and the wind was just like a hot fire in my face. And I remember walking with my head down, and, of course, I had my camera kind of in the fold of my arms. And all I had was some gear gloves, Texas Good gloves, because they were thin. I could feel my controls on the camera, and I'd keep one hand in my pocket, but of course the other hand I had to call with. And I'd take the call out of my mouth and it'd freeze up instantly.
Wow.
Take it out, and I couldn't blow on it again. I'd put it back in my mouth and breathe on it, and it would defrost it. And I got lucky because my first call, 2 coyotes come roaring in, and I had to sit there only like 5 minutes.
Did you ever think to yourself, Wyman, you're too damn successful to be freezing my ass off like this?
But I loved it. It was fun.
I followed you on Facebook through that. I mean, it was every morning.
It was
you
great.
were
every morning I was
hitting
out.
I like seeing you do that a lot better than I did when you chronicled the drought in 2011.
Yeah, me too.
I did not like that. And they say we're going to have a summer like that again this
Just
year.
don't talk about it.
I hope not.
We're off to a good start, though. I mean, we just got
We
that.
are.
I
And they got some more rain coming,
I hope they're wrong is all I'm going to say.
Me too.
So, I mean, the predators, they got to just be everywhere during something like that.
I had pretty good luck calling. Of course, the wind blew. When the wind was blowing, of course, they wasn't going to come to the call well. But that particular afternoon, I only go for a few hours in a day. And I think that particular day I called in about 3 or 4 that afternoon, and then I hit about 50-50 on my calling stands. But I wouldn't sit long.
No, hell, you can't.
It's all you could do is sit 10 minutes.
Did you hear about that guy that died up around Kroll? Was it a Kroll?
Yes.
Yeah.
I guess snowstorm came in, just got turned around and got lost.
That wasn't the big cold front snap, though.
It was New Year, I think,
Yeah.
was when that one was.
Yeah.
I saw a coyote in South Dakota at one of the grasslands right there, where there's no trees or nothing. Most beautiful coyote I've ever seen in my life.
I bet it was.
Winter coyote in South Dakota in February. I was like, what a beautiful animal.
Yeah.
Just-
Gorgeous.
Yeah,
animals.
I'm telling you. I was like, that's one to get mounted right there because
Yeah.
we don't see them like that here.
No. They're different in the panhandle than they are here. They're much prettier in the panhandle. You can go, 30, 40 miles south, and you can see there's a difference in it. When I used to do it a lot back in the 70s, the animals that were taken in Knox County versus Dickens County, there'd be like $5 to $10 difference in the price of them.
You just get better
Better
quality.
animals toward the caprock, higher elevation, colder.
Just that little difference.
Yes.
Just 15 miles away.
Yeah.
These hunting contests, these varmint contests, which have gotten really, really, really popular. Do you think they're ducking anything on the population much? I mean, I know they are because they're killing some.
No, hell no, they're not hurting anything. In fact, they're alienating. They're giving fuel to the anti-hunters. There's a big. I don't know if you heard about it, but there's a big video out. It's gone national the last few days, and it is very negative.
And it's on the contest?
Yes, it's very negative. And I had one guy come on my Facebook because I'd made a comment on Instagram, I believe. And I told him, I said, guys, we got to stick together on this stuff. I said, that's a visual that's not good. Killing contests are not good. I'm sorry. Period. They're not good. This is not a time for that. Maybe 40 years ago, but not anymore. And this guy going, oh, you're a hypocrite. You've killed more coyotes than anybody in the country, and you're against coyote hunting. I'm not against coyote hunting. I don't mind. If somebody wants to go out and try their 22-250 out and call it, fine and dandy. But killing contests are bad visuals and ammunition for anti-hunters, and it's going to get rough.
Well,
Just watch and see.
we're in the minority anymore.
Absolutely, and we don't need to advertise to people who are on the fence.
Right.
And there's a lot of people on the fence. I don't put any kill pictures out, none. In fact, I don't kill hardly any coyotes anymore. Just a few, just to keep my journals. And I came on the Facebook like a couple of days ago, and I said, okay, look, hey, this guy came up and he criticized me. In fact, Ken Zoller out of Midland came on there and said, look, Wyman's not criticizing you. What the hell are you doing? And so he took all of his stuff down. Mm-hmm. I don't even know who he is. Don't care. But I came on there and I told him, I said, okay, this is going to be pretty redundant, but here's my history. Boom. Yeah, I went through all that stuff. I have killed a lot of coyotes. To be exact, 1,809 with a rifle alone.
Wow.
And but I said I don't do it much anymore because I appreciate the animal. I said I started out doing it as a kid. What most kids do, they just want to hunt and kill something. Mm-hmm. And then I went into it in the research because I wanted to learn more about their feeding habits. And I killed to get samples for my data. And then I went into it after I got out of college as a profession. I needed it to pay my bills. I wanted to get out of school. I wanted to live a totally free life. I wanted to live what my heart was speaking. And I did that. And then I went through a period of just keeping my notes alive, but I still shot a lot. And now I'm down to, I might kill 10 or 15 a winter just to keep my notes going because I don't want my notes to die. Mm-hmm. And I feel bad about that.
You know,
because I've killed enough. I've done enough of that stuff.
The contest, I don't have a problem with what the guys are doing, and I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
The optics, it's the same as with the waterfowl hunting videos.
Yeah.
That shows a big rainouts of geese,
mm-hmm.
big rainouts. All you're doing is taking that person that might come hunting one day,
mm-hmm.
that's on the fence. You're pushing some of them off.
Yes, sir.
And as hunters, we do need to stick together.
We do.
And you know, I don't know what the answer is, but we have to try to pull in some of the fence sitters.
Absolutely.
And get them on our side.
Absolutely.
And it's the same with people that a guy, an outfitter I just read yesterday in South Dakota had screwed a bunch of guys. I've never been snow goose hunting, late snow goose hunting. This guy screws them over. Don't show up. Don't do nothing. Mm-hmm. These guys never goose hunting that. Now, do you think they're ever going to go back again? They just got fucked out of thousands of dollars a piece.
Yeah.
They're never going to go.
Yeah.
We have to do something to make the non-hunter or the fence jumpers do it. And I could see where that, when you put it that way, like a killing contest,
that's right.
That is really a different way to.
It's bad optics, bad visuals.
They think it's just a bunch of bubbas.
And exactly, and it's almost like, I mean, they've got these damn calling videos where everybody's high-fiving with a gut shot coyote running off. I mean, that's just like, give me a break.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 70 years old, and I've seen a lot of blood. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's distasteful to me.
Yeah.
You know, of course, age is going to do things to you.
I'm there with you anyways.
Age is going to do things.
I don't care if I kill anything anymore.
Yeah, that's me. And when I take a photograph of a coyote, it's like I said the other, told someone, I said, look at those eyes.
Yeah.
You know, those eyes, that's intelligence. That's wild intelligence. Just like a wild human being. That's the way the Indians were, 12,000 years ago. They were wild animals. They have feelings too. Yeah, they're going to kill, and it's a savage land. They don't care how their prey dies. Yeah, they're going to eat calves' tails off. They're going to kill an occasional calf. I do not, because I have studied I've dug out a lot of coyote stomachs in cattle country, and they do not kill calves like some people like to say they do.
Not at all.
They kill
Very
chickens. Rare. It's pretty rare and if they do, it's like one or two animals, and that's it.
This picture right here of yours is I just.
Oh yeah, that was just the other day.
Well, a cow's too big a prey for a coyote.
Oh, they don't.
But just he's looking at you like, I see you over there, you son of a bitch.
I know.
I got you.
I love that picture. I love the animal, and there would have been a time when all I could think about was putting a bullet through his chest,
right,
between his eyes. But now I look through those eyes, and I'm going, you know what? That's a living creature. He's a predator. He's got a place, and everybody is successful. I got my picture, and he got to live.
Yeah.
And everything's is cool. That's just the way I view things today. Now I will continue occasionally. I'll shoot a coyote to put in my journal, put that blood spot, put the date, and someday, 20 years, 50 years, somebody can take that journal and go, there's that blood spot, I'm going to take a DNA. Are the coyotes 50 years from now the same as they were 50 years ago?
What are you going to do with your journals? Are you donating them? What are you doing with them?
Yet.
Your sons want them.
I don't know yet.
You got a grandson or a son that's going to
Oh,
want
yeah.
them. I mean, they might be fighting over them one day.
It could be.
You hope so, right?
I hope.
That's why you did this.
Yeah. They're very. I talked to one day. I was at a TWA meeting, and the leading expert on ocelots was there at my table, and I was telling him about taking blood, and they said, "Well, man," they said, "that is some incredible information." He said, "I would like to look at your journal someday and perhaps take a DNA samples from all the bobcats and compare them with the cats that and see if there's any difference, any changes have occurred over the years."
It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But what I originally had done was someone was saying, well, those contests, all they're doing is depleting the resources. They're not hurting the population of the coyotes, are they?
No. And let me tell you, this is something about the contest, and I've seen it happen. They've showed me what happened. Okay, I've killed 881 bobcats, weighed nearly all of them. The only cat that went over 30 pounds had been eating my brother's chickens for 3 or 4 weeks. The only cat. He weighed 31 and a half pounds. All the rest of them weighed 28 pounds or less. That's 881 bobcats. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, you're getting 35 and 40-pound cats.
43 pounds was the one that won this year.
Give me a break.
Did you see the one cat that won?
I saw that. Give me a break.
He just swelled up more than I am.
I ain't buying it. Where there's money,
Yeah.
there's going to be a fix.
Someone's feeding that cat.
They're feeding them.
That cat, I've never seen a fat cat in the wild.
Guarantee. Nobody killed it except for old government trappers. I've killed as many cats as anybody in the country. A lot of them, most of them steel traps. But I weighed them all and took all this information on them. You can't tell me that there's that many 30 and 40-pound cats out there.
Right.
I'm sorry.
That 43-pound cat was laid next to a regular cat, and it looked like some bitch been eating Krispy Kreme donuts every morning. I mean, I was like, "Well,
so what do
that's
you
a
think?
fat
You
cat.
think they trapped it and then just? Fed
I don't
it?
know what they can feed them to get them that fat.
What they do is they'll put a game camera up and they'll find where a cat's running,
Oh, okay.
and they'll put dead geese, dead ducks, and they'll find out what time he's coming. Mm-hmm. They know exactly all of his movements, and then then whenever he gets big enough, they go in there and
Mm-hmm. What are they going to feed him to get him that fat though?
ducks and
Just
geese.
carcass.
That'll
Carcasses.
make a bobcat get that fat.
Oh yeah,
I've
chickens do.
Well, I mean, they just fatten them up.
Yeah, but that's 12 more pounds. That's 25% bigger body weight than the one you killed at your brother's. It's got to be. I mean, I just don't know what they can do to a cat to fatten them up like that.
I wonder if they surely they checked for like lead and all that stuff.
No, this cat was obese. Yeah. This cat wasn't like a big, like an oversized cat. This son bitch looked like he's a fat cat. He was obese.
Yeah.
I mean, looked like a fat cat you'd see at grandma's house that eats that she feeds ice cream to every night.
See, I wonder though. Like, I wonder if it was like a pet almost, or wonder if they clipped him.
I don't know.
Neutered him almost, because you hear about that with like chickens.
It's just a theory of mine, but from my notes, I can deduce that something ain't right.
No, it's not. And everybody in that contest thought
Something
that
ain't
something was
right.
wrong.
Yeah.
When Garfield the Bobcat comes calling, I mean, it was that fat.
He walked up. He didn't even run to the call.
No, he
they
was
call 'em-
winded.
And they call them, calling contests. Hell, my 6-year-old granddaughter can can reach over and click on a computer quicker than I can.
Yeah.
And all it is going over, and you're setting up in an overhead thing with sandbags where your rifle's at rest, and it's at night, and you reach over and turn on an electronic call. Hey, you're not calling. You're not showing your expertise in calling. Mm-hmm. You're going on a ranch where a rancher is not shooting any coyotes, and these coyotes gravitate to feeding grounds, and you've got 10 or 15 coyotes at a feeding ground, and then all of a sudden that night comes, and these guys go out there and they drive up to a feeding ground and just turn the light on, and there's all these coyotes in it. Poop, 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 poop.
Yeah.
Suppressors. And where's the skill?
Yeah.
I know that
Where's the skill?
Clay and them, their contest Archer City is during the day only.
Yeah.
And it's shotgun only, and it's hand call.
That's more like it.
That's daytime only.
That's more like it.
And hand calls. And
I won't tell you where I was, but Friday morning I called up 30 coyotes in 4 hours.
Whew.
Just taking pictures.
What? See, I'm getting to where you are with turkeys.
Yeah.
Because I've noticed the last couple that I've shot, it's a lot like coyote hunting. I don't know how much turkey hunting you've done, but
I've done a lot of turkey calling, but no hunting. I don't even hunt turkeys.
When you shoot, it's kind of a anticlimactic ending. You're kind of like, well,
It is.
shit.
Yeah.
It was such a beautiful, and especially like if they do it right, and there's been times where, I mean, I've called them from, I don't know how many hundreds of yards, and it's a give and take, and it's a pull, and, you know, you're talking to him, and you're responding, and there's a lot of discourse. And there's a lot of times where I've shot that turkey and been like,
yeah,
maybe I should have let him go.
Maybe
I should have.
That's where I am with coyotes.
And it's a weird, because they taste great, they taste delicious, but it's just, I don't know what it is about it, but you just see them there, and the chase is over almost.
You're becoming more mature.
Yeah.
thank God.
There it is. But it's just, I don't know. It's a weird deal. I didn't think I'd ever get there as a hunter.
Yeah.
But here I am.
And I still love to shoot.
Yeah.
I shoot. I love the smell of burned gunpowder. When I pick a cartridge, if I'm target practicing, I'll sit and sniff it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I'm looking through the scope, looking at my group, and I'm sniffing a cartridge, I love the smell of gunpowder.
Women's perfume should be made out of that stuff. They don't realize they'd be doing. Do you? The Indians wouldn't kill dogs. Is that correct? Or would they? Son? See, I've heard that they eat them, but I've heard they wouldn't kill dogs. Well, it sounds to me like back in the day, they were using dogs to get their stuff everywhere.
Yeah.
But would they kill coyotes?
I think, okay, I showed a ranch to the Kickapoo Indians, and the coyotes are spiritual animals.
So they don't want to kill them.
Whitetails, bobcats, and coyotes are spiritual animals.
White-tailed deer are?
Uh-huh. They'll kill white-tailed deer, but it's afterwards. It's a big ritual afterwards.
So they weren't just shooting deer.
Right.
Which we didn't have
Everything's
deer.
a big
During
ritual.
the Indian days, we didn't have deer like we do now. Not the populations of them.
According to the buffalo hunters, deer were everywhere. They were killed out probably by settlers starving to death. Settlers were starving, and they had to have something to eat.
Well, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, I know when I was a kid, there wasn't near the deer there are now.
No. 60s, if you saw a deer, it was the talk of the town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I first came out here, the only deer that they had was along McFadden Lane.
Yep. Yeah.
And that was the only deer. And there were some deer here and there, but that was where the big deer were.
Yeah.
You know, it's where Ronnie worked all the time. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's where spotlighters were.
Yeah.
But other than that, you didn't see deer
And
everywhere.
that was in when, the 70s?
No, I didn't get here till the early
Oh,
90s.
you ever been here in the 60s? You're talking about no deer.
No, but
And I hunted the hell out of them in the 60s with an open sight 30-30. And I would go all winter long, and if you saw one buck, you were lucky.
when I got here, it was the early 90s, and I would see deer. We would on the nature trail up on the road up here.
Yeah.
You would see it where John Hendricks' place is.
Yeah.
I'd see deer there, and then behind the lodge on the river, you'd see deer. But if you go out in the evening, you might see 10 deer down on the river.
Yeah.
Well, now if you go down there, you might see 50.
Yeah.
And between here and the house, when you leave the lodge and you go towards town at nighttime, 100 to 200 deer is not impossible right along here.
Wow.
I mean, and I'm not fudging a number at all.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that there was the deer population then was real prevalent, like when the buffalo were here then too.
According to the buffalo hunters, deer and wild turkey, they said wild turkey were so thick that you could kill hundreds of them.
Wow.
Just go into a roost and just kill hundreds of them. Of course, they probably went in there and blasted away. In fact, one buffalo hunter, I can't recall which one it was. Might have been Joe McCombs, I'm not certain. But they were hunting up somewhere around Gale up in there, and they said some city guys had came out and came into camp, and they killed so many wild turkey that they said they made them eat all of them. And they said the guys were sick of them after a few days. They said they just massacred all these turkeys, and it made the buffalo hunters mad.
Yeah.
They killed a few
Kind of
thousand
hypocritical,
buffalo.
but
Yeah, but they said they made those guys eat all those turkeys.
you know, a city guy back in them times was really a city guy if they called you that.
Oh yeah.
I think it's worse now.
No. But what if you were a city? If they called you, if you were in Gale, Texas,
Yeah.
and you called somebody a city guy, there's a long ways to a city if you're in Gale, Texas, in the 1800s.
Yeah.
Because Lubbock wasn't a city then, really, was it?
No, I don't. No, there were no cities back then except maybe Dallas.
Dallas, Fort Worth.
Yeah.
And that was it. Mm-hmm. A long ass way.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize I was doing just some research. I can't remember what I was looking at. Oh, I was trying to find heads or tails out of the draft dodgers question that I got.
Mm-hmm.
The Lubbock guy, I guess he was governor of Texas from what I remember, from what I read.
Golly, what was his name?
I think it was Lubbock. The last name was Lubbock. But
sure.
Wasn't he the racist guy?
well, no, he was I got to looking and he was I don't know what.
But didn't they just come out trying to say that?
Yeah, they just said
They
he,
wanted to change the name of the town to BLM or something.
but he was a Lincoln abolitionist
Okay.
Really?
before he got to. But I guess he had, and now with cancel culture, if you've got
Oh yeah.
if you've got blood of a slave owner, they're going to come after you. But I think he
Yeah.
was.
Dude, I got news for you. All three of us sitting at this table are going to be canceled out in 50 years at the rate things are going.
Sure.
Easily.
Absolutely.
Yeah, all of you, the work you've done will be, oh my God, he's
I
a
can't
bad
believe
guy.
he did that.
Yeah.
We got to burn it.
Francis Lubbock, governor of Texas,
Okay.
office
I'll be
during the
darned.
Civil War.
1861.
So you don't miss teaching at school?
No. I miss the interaction with the young people, but the teaching, actually the grading's what I hated. I just hated.
Give everybody an A.
I'm sorry.
Give everybody an A.
I wish I could, and I wanted to.
What now?
But
What
you
was
just
the
couldn't.
curriculum? Was it? It's not essays or anything. Is it?
No, it was all
pictures?
photography. It was I actually made it sort of editorial photography, where I became the editor, and they were a freelancer, and they would give me a concept for a story, and then I would review the concept and say, yeah, that's viable, go for it, or I'd say, no, you need to change. You can't do that. I don't think you're capable of doing it, or that's not even logical.
Was it all
around here.
outdoor photography?
No.
It could be indoor.
I had nudes.
Nudes?
One guy did nudes. That's all it is. Just bodyscapes.
I'm going to tell you a funny ass story.
I don't know.
we were
Not coming to me for being a model.
me and Michelle were in Salem. We were in Marblehead, Massachusetts in
Yeah.
October. We come out of a place to eat, and it was kind of foggy. And where we stayed at was probably a half a city block, cobblestone road. We're walking. It's kind of nice outside at night. And I look in this door. There's some shops there, and I look in the door of this shop, and there's this fat naked chick sitting on a stool.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Michelle, come here. I go, get my picture with that lady behind me. She goes, I'm going to get caught. And it was a painting class, and they got fucking 2-ton Tessie sitting on a bench.
Oh, my
I couldn't believe it. I thought, you think they'd get a hotter model? I mean, she was a big old girl. She was just as smiling. We watched for 3 or 4 minutes, but I wanted to get my picture made with her in the background.
Yeah, this guy asked me if he could do bodyscapes, and I got it. I went to the class and I said, okay, we're going to be looking at nudes. Is everybody cool with it? And everybody, oh yeah, it's fine. And I had a lot of gals in class, and so because we viewed everybody's images each week, and went through them and I critiqued them, told them how they could improve on them.
Nice boobs.
But they were very tastefully done.
Yeah.
Very tastefully. It
That's
looked
a-
like sand dunes. Sand dunes in great light.
Really?
Yeah. That's what it looked like.
So so that wasn't something everybody in class was wanting to do, was naked pictures.
No. A lot of them did like, the cotton industry, farming and, just various things like that.
I went to school with a girl in college that took pictures, and she was in a photography art class at Midwestern, and she took a photo of the old Bar L downtown where you could get red draws, and they used to have the neon lights, and she had it where the lights looked they were moving off of it, and that is a cool print, and I saw it not long ago. Someone had it, and it was a print made in the 80s.
I'll be darned.
But it was it was a very cool print
Yeah.
from art class.
Yeah.
Have any of these students gone on?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I've got one of them, Jared Foster. He is now at the associate, director or dean in mass comm.
Oh.
Yeah, they're tech. Had one gal, Ginger Scavaja, that went to New York. Had another gal that was photographed in New York. Had some that should have kept going, but they didn't. They were good enough.
Why? What?
They just chose not to.
That's got to be frustrating.
Damn good.
That's got to
good
be
shooter.
just so frustrating. You see all the talent in the world, and like, listen, if you just, but I wonder if they got burned out on it, or I wonder if the stars kind of weren't aligning to where they didn't see that this was going to make sense. If there was a means to an end coming anytime soon.
Probably. I don't know where. One of them, she's back from New York. She's in Colorado now, and she was a good shooter. A couple of guys they could probably have shot for Geographic,
Really?
But they just didn't.
What is that? I mean, is that all just right place, right time? How does that work?
Yeah.
I mean,
you mean
life is right place, right time.
Yeah, it's like me and in photography. That's my brother.
Probably wondering where the hell you are. You're not answering your phone.
I hit it just right.
Right.
Absolutely perfect. The only two photographers in Texas was Jerry Smith and one from San Antonio, and so they were shooting primarily white-tailed deer. And so I actually called an editor in New York and a photo editor and just said, how can I kind of break in? I mean, you got these two guys, then you got Lyndon LaRue, he was big at the time, Tom Brakefield, guys like that. And so you had about probably maybe 6 or 8 big shooters at the time. And he said, and I'd sent him some images, and he said, you've got a good eye. He said, give me something I hadn't seen. That's what I'm after. Give me something I hadn't seen. And so I kept looking at the magazine thinking, nobody's shooting wild turkey. And so I found a group of wild turkey, a flock down on the North Wichita, got permission to go down there, and for 37 days nonstop, I photographed wild turkey. I still remember it vividly. Nonstop. I remember one day a horrible dust storm, and I was still down there calling turkey, sitting in a little old makeshift blind that I made out of chicken wire and hay, and I shot 1,400 photographs of wild turkey, and I mean I hit the national magazine.
And was it was this the dueling turkeys? Is that what it was?
No, that was later. That was in the 80s. The turkey. Go down. Okay, now go to the right.
Yeah.
That one right there was one of them.
This one or this one?
No, to the right.
To the right.
Yeah.
That one.
Yep.
Beautiful shot.
And I broke in right there. I had 3 national covers in 1 month in 1981. Sports Afield, American Hunter, and Peterson's Hunting in 1 month. And then after that, it was like, hey, who's the guy who got the turkey pictures? And then I started Field and Stream. And that was in 81. And by 1985, I was selected as one of 5 new age photographers that was highlighted by Sports Field magazine.
So do they just know? Do these publishers just know, like, okay, he's broken in, he's done what he needed to do, he can do anything? Mm-hmm. Like, do they just know that? Like, what I'm getting at is, like, how do you go from being the turkey guy to Wyman can do anything?
You establish a style.
Mm-hmm.
That's the angle that you shoot from. I always shot low, real low. I never shot up from elevated blinds or anything. And I always shot right at daylight and right at sunset.
Because even if you look at that picture, it looks like he is in your business. Yeah.
And you shoot tight, strong. Right. And I remember one time Leonard LaRue, I believe, was in Amarillo giving a photo seminar, and someone told me that was there. They said, he mentioned you as one of the top shooters in America to watch today. And that was in the late 80s.
Right.
And so then I just kind of, by 1989, I just got tired of it. I just got tired of shooting nothing but wildlife. I thought I can do more than this. And so I started focusing on people, on history, on landscapes, skyscapes. and it was the best move I ever made. And then by, heck, 93, I didn't even shoot for the Nationals anymore. I quit. In fact, the last time I shot for the Nationals, I had 3 covers on Field and Stream 1 year.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're an interesting person. It shows in your work, and I'm not into art that much. Mm-hmm. Terry Redland's my favorite artist. You're my favorite photographer. I took art appreciation in college. That was absolutely the most miserable class.
I bet you that's true.
Miserable class I ever took in my entire life. And day 2, I'm thinking, why in the hell did I choose this? And I had to take a liberal arts class, and so I took one, and
oh God,
I regretted that.
Yeah, I took anthropology, and I thought it was archaeology, and it was horrible.
But see, if
I took physiology, because I took anatomy and physiology in high school.
Yeah,
I'm gonna learn about where the arm is. I'm gonna learn a couple, little things here. Physiology is like what goes on in your finger to make it do that.
Yeah.
I was in way over my head, and it was a summer class, and the professor came on first day, and he said, there's 2 ways to get out of the final, and it's comprehensive. You can either have an A average going into the final, or you can have perfect attendance. My ass was in the same seat. I had an 8 a.m. I had an 8 a.m. in July. Yeah. I was there every single day. I had a C+, and I walked, and I took it, and I ran with it.
Most of the people in that class were white coats, too, weren't they?
Yeah. I look around, and, like, everybody's wearing scrubs, and then there are, like, people with doctor's coats on. I'm thinking, what in the hell have I said? Because all I needed was a lab science. It could have been anything.
Yeah.
But I see physiology, and I'm like, I took anatomy and physiology my senior year in high school. I'll take that. It'll be fine. That'll be a quick A.
Yeah, right.
Well, I did not make an A in art appreciation, but probably, if I'm guessing, I got a C. But it was a miserable C, and it was a miserable class.
I had a few of those.
It wasn't nothing like this.
Yeah.
Me and the guy we argued. I debated a little bit, so me and him got into it.
Yeah.
He was an old Jewish guy. He did not like anybody that looked like a jock or he thought was a jock.
Yeah.
And he hated me. And we got into an argument over Terry Redland one time because he goes, well, what do you consider good art? I said, well, Terry Redland. Well, he's not really an artist. Well, fuck, I don't know what he is. I mean, he sells Ducks Unlimited sure sells a lot of his shit. He raises a lot of money for him. That's art to me.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. He wanted impressionist, and and I learned some stuff in there. Yeah. But we did a lot of stuff on Ansel Adams. And Georgia O'Keeffe. And I can spot a Georgia O'Keeffe
painting
anywhere in the Smithsonian. If I see one of her stuff, I'd know that's hers.
Yeah.
And that's so I did learn some stuff in there.
Yeah.
But anybody out there that's going to take art appreciation, don't do it.
Well, my one of the things I wanted to teach my classes at Tech, I said, look, you can take photography over in art and then learn how to take a picture of a door, and the compositional, proper composition. But I said, what I'm going to teach you is how to take your camera. When you leave here in mass comm, you're going to be a writer too, and you can be one. You can be both photographer and writer, and you can go, because when I was shooting in the '80s before I started really writing heavy, they would put me with a writer, and I learned quickly that if you could write and photograph, boy, you were a package deal.
Right, deadly.
And so I said, I'm going to teach you people to be a package deal once you leave college.
Yeah, because one of the books you did is with Ray.
Yeah, Ray Sasser.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Did Bob Hood and you never did anything together, did you? Mm-hmm. Bob was a good guy, really good man too. We don't have any sports writers left, or outdoor writers left, I don't think.
Really?
Oh, Ray's dead.
Yeah.
Bob's dead.
Yeah.
Jerry O'Brien, I think at Abilene's dead.
My goodness.
I mean, I don't think. Jerry, if you're not dead, I'm sorry I said that. But
put you in the grave too
early. Take an aspirin, buddy.
Yeah. If you were an old man when I got in the hunting business, then you're a really old man now.
I remember a great Byron Dalrymple. Do you remember him?
Don't even know that name.
Oh, he was one of the big writers in the 60s, maybe the late 50s. And I just read his stuff, when I was a kid. And he wrote me a letter one time. And he told me, he said, you are, you're a good guy, basically what he said. And we started exchanging letters, and then he died. And so I kept his letters. I was watering. I kept his letters and A.S. Jackson's letters and John Gray's letters. And I have them there in my home today, and every once in a while I pull them out and read them. You can go in Cabela's, you know, the pictures when you go to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
Byron Dalrymple's one of them.
I'll look it up.
Really?
Yeah.
In all your travels, I know we've kept you long. It's been 2 hours now.
That's okay.
Most interesting person you've ever met in your life?
Most interesting. Wow, I'd have to think about that. I've met some characters. I don't know. You know, I met, what's the old boy's name that wrote Texas?
Michener.
Michener. I met James Michener one time.
Kids today don't even know about that book.
But he was just kind of a hard ass.
Was he?
Yeah.
But he was good.
He's a good writer. I remember
He was a hard ass to you?
He was just like a real kind of like.
He's proud of himself.
Yeah, well, the rancher said, you know, this is James Michener. This is why I'm in here photographing. I said, hello, Mr. Michener, how are you? And he said, are your cameras paid for? And I said, yes, sir. And he said, you're doing fine. He turned and walked off.
You sure
That's it. Bye.
That sounds like Danny Hudson.
Yeah.
Are your cameras paid for?
Yeah. Yeah.
That does sound like something he'd say, though.
Shit on me. Yes, sir, it is.
You know, I don't know. I'd have to think about that.
Because you've met some cool dudes.
I've met a lot of neat people.
Is it weird having the big archive that you do? I mean, you've got pictures, and you can basically watch yourself grow up.
Mm-hmm.
How does that make you feel when you look back at some of the old pictures? Is it a mixture?
I'll tell you what's funny. I mean, what's interesting about it is you can see elements in your early day shots. I mean, way back when I was a kid, you can see elements that are still there today.
Mm-hmm.
It was a style that was building even as a child. Close, tight, strong, light. The way an animal looks, you know, even horses. When I used to have a 120, you know, an old 2 1/4 job, you know, that old Kodak, Kodalux or whatever, and not a Brownie, but you know, one of the 120 jobs. My mother gave me a hold down here, twin lens reflex, and you can see elements there that wow, I still have that today. Mm-hmm. But you just you know, you add a few things that makes it more interesting, action instead of just static stuff.
But I mean, you personally. You see yourself,
mm-hmm.
you know, old pictures that you got from, you know, you in the dugout, or there's a picture you've got you're in the horse trough, I think it is.
Oh yeah, that number 3 tub, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, is it weird seeing like you've basically grown up on film?
Yeah, it's funny to look back. I wish I still had all that hair on my head. I tell you, I was not. Probably not as nice a guy back then as I am now.
Right.
See, I don't know about that. Well, I didn't know you then, but I look back now, and you didn't know us from Adam when we first moved out here.
Yeah.
And I think our first 6 brochures are your backdrop pictures that you gave us to use.
Oh, yeah.
And you came out here and you took pictures and you dicked around with, hell, Dad.
Yeah.
Dad thought he adopted you for a little bit there. And so you were a nice guy because you were big. You were walking in high cotton then, and you had time for us back then.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about even before that, back, you know, in the 70s.
No, that's what I'm saying. I didn't know you then, but I met you. When I met you, you had time for people like us.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, I will take to this day, I will not be, even if I'm in a hurry, I will not be rude to anybody.
Right.
Unless they're an asshole.
Yeah.
If they're an asshole and they act, and you know, and I can perceive that, I'm just going, you know, I don't have time for you. But spam, wow. But I would, and if somebody calls me, right, like this morning at 6:00, I was looking at my messages, and I'm going, I never look at those things, hardly ever, unless I know something's going to happen, like today. Mm-hmm. You know, I need to be here at 6:00. And then I saw stuff back in December. People wrote me and asked me questions. I go, I started back in December answering. Going, I'm so sorry. I'm not good at this. I don't pay a lot of attention to messages. So I'm answering you now. Please forgive me for not taking the time to do this. And but that's just the way I feel. I'm not one of those guys that just brushes people off.
Don't you? I can't imagine the messages you get because I know
I
the
get a
message because I know the messages I get, and sometimes, especially during hunting season, I ain't got time to answer 35 people today on stuff that has nothing to do with anything other than, and a lot of them is people just being nice, trying to tell me something, or hey Jeff, I thought you might be interested in this, and I feel bad, but sometimes you just don't have time. I can't imagine the stuff you get all over from places.
And you know, questions about photography. You know, and I get tired of talking photography.
You need to have a, and I'm sure you've done it before. You need to have a camp for people. As many people as want to shoot photography, wildlife now. Yeah. But I'm sure you don't want to jack with them. But there's a lot of people would love to have you do that.
I don't.
Are you going to retire ever? Or just do what you want to do?
I'm not going to do any more photo workshops in the near future. I'm not going to do any more of those. I'm tired of those. But I'll always take pictures. I mean, when the light's right, the conditions are right, and I'm moved, that's all I want to do is shoot pictures at that moment. I mean, I'd live and breathe it. And when it's over, put that camera away, and I don't want to pick it up.
Yeah.
So no more King Ranch videos, pictures. So you'll still do stuff like that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because I love doing that kind of thing. Yeah. We had two people stop in yesterday that we got some big stuff coming on. That I'm going to be doing a lot of shooting on ranches. Yeah.
Sounds exciting.
Well, good.
Before we let you go, you've got a new book coming out.
It's
in the works.
It's in the works. It's in the works. The title of it is The Art of Predator. The Art of Predator Calling, a Portrait in Images and Tradition.
Now, is this all? Is there going to be any writing in it, like Jeff alluded to?
20,000 words right now. It's I've just had it edited, and it's very positive. And I have some more. It probably may end up being 25,000 words. There are going to be charts from data over 40 years. It's not going to be about killing. It's going to be, this is how you call. If you want to go hunting with it, you can. If you want to go photographing with it, you can. If you want to just go out with the kids and call and look, you can do it. But it's not going to be focused on any one thing. It's just except for calling. This is how it's done. And it's going to have galleries of photographs of years of photography of coyotes coming in, bobcats, and there'll be explanations on expressions. This is what he's just decided that's happened. And he thinks it's not
It goes
good.
to that level.
Yes.
Wow.
Watch the ear. Look at the ear.
Wow.
He's fixing to scoot.
Can't wait to see it.
Really?
Yes.
So, what is the projected release date? In a perfect world, I know things change, but in a perfect world,
in 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
So 2023.
Yeah. In a perfect year. Yeah.
We're going to get you on again this summer if we can.
Okay.
If you got time.
Sure.
We'd like to have you on here again.
I've always got time for you guys.
Everybody loves you.
All the time.
I hope so. I hope so. If there's anything I need to change, let me know, because I don't want to offend people, but I just want to be honest.
That's what our podcast is about. Yeah. Is being yourself. Wyman, I appreciate it, bud.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great one.
Finally got a world famous person on here. It's not you, Andy.
Go check out all of our great sponsors. Check out Stanfield Hunting Outfitters. Got a couple turkey dates left. Check out Bangtail Whiskey, Goose Creek Retrievers, Gundog Outdoors, Pacific Custom Calls, Blind Grass, Camouflage. They're not just a camouflage system. Dive Bomb Industries, Boss Shot Shells, Dirty Duck Coffee, Lucky Duck, and Looking Glass Duck Club.